Teach me some. Me.
What up, How y'all
What
doing?
up, my baby?
What y'all doing? How you? What is this poncho you're wearing? You're zipped up fully.
I'm sick.
What are you sick of?
Rotten with perversion. When my nephews came over, they brought a nice little coffee for me from California. I didn't get it for the first 3 weeks. I was very smug because it went around my entire family. And I was
Mm,
like, my immune system is simply superior to the rest of you weaklings. You need to start taking care of yourself properly. And then a week after they left, I was still hanging around my family. It was still lingering, and I finally caught it. Here's my advice, kids: don't mix resistance training and hard cardio on the same day. When I
mm.
do that, if there's anything in the air, I get it. It's some sort of immune system shutdown or too much stress on the body, basically.
You got the flu or what? Monkeypox?
It's not flu. I think so. Monkeypox,
You got the
otherwise known as
monkeypox.
AIDS.
Yeah. Speaking of monkeypox, I need to go grab a tissue because I'm gonna be like dripping all over myself during this entire
Drip,
podcast. So
drip,
just give me like 2 seconds. Got that drip right here.
drip, drip, drip. That's what we wanted CPS drip. Imagine if that was the future thing, when people would just rap about the fact their nose is dripping. That's it. That's how depressed this generation's going to get. They'll do mumble rapping about their coughs and their colds. It's like drip, drip.
Got that drip, 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 drip. Dude, I
This
can't
is
escape the
nasty.
image of looking like a, a junkie in recovery, man. Just like
Yeah.
sniffling. Hey, what's going on? Kind of paranoid, twitching.
What what this is the effect of the spores. What's it called?
The pollen, the tree
Hay
jizz.
hay fever, right?
Oh, it's awful, man. And it's just like I think being inside for a whole ass year didn't help at
Yeah,
all. So my immune system is just acclimating to reality. And it's still
yeah,
like I'm having a hard time assimilating, dude. Like socially and physically and all these other things, I feel really out of place these days.
yeah.
It's
I'm
crazy.
I'm aware a lot of people are feeling that way. I drift in and out. So some days I'll be like, I love this. This is fantastic. And then other days I'll show up to things and I'll be like, I don't know what a person does
Yeah.
anymore. I don't know what a human says. I don't
Yeah.
know how I'm supposed to act. And I have weird conversations where my brain is glitching and I'm trying to be charming and funny and I'm being exceptionally weird.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know
No,
what to say.
totally. Totally. Like I think I went today to get into some Nespresso at like the
Yeah,
expensive coffee castles, but I ended up I went in looking like this, which it's mostly catered to 70-plus-year-old post-menopausal people, you know.
Did you go to the one in the fancy part of town
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah. The fancy
Sarasota?
with the Gucci. It's the only Nespresso store out here, right?
Right, right.
And I'm like coming in and thinking that I'm behaving in a way that I used to do daily and the charm would
Yeah,
work, right?
yeah,
And I was like, I'm feeling good about myself. I asked for the
yeah,
coffee and she's like, would you like a coffee here? I was like, yeah, this has pretty good
yeah,
vibe. And then
yeah,
like the lady who's like the fancy, she looked like a manager, or maybe she was just specifically in charge of making the thing.
yeah.
She makes the thing, and she was like, "This is Congo," and I'm like, "What did I say?" I said like Congo, like Africa, and then she's like, huh. And then she leaves entirely.
And goes home and simply takes her own life.
I felt so fucking good about myself. Just like, all right, back to society, interacting, small talk, making people laugh with dad jokes. She didn't even stay. Like, she's
Yeah,
supposed to be there to like cater to
yeah.
the cousin. She just left, like went to the
She just
back.
wrote one word on a note before she hanged herself. She's like, Congo.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm not made for this anymore, man. I don't know what. Dude. I don't know what.
Why can't I make my dad jokes anymore? That's what I would want to know. What's wrong with just a little just a little social lubrication of a little dad joke. What's
Yeah,
wrong with that?
right. And I was like, for the last like so fucking 4 years since I've lived here,
Yeah,
why do I feel so off now? I feel like I'm
yeah.
finally sort of getting my stride back, but it's either the people
You
change, I
you
change,
feel
or
more foreign in Prague now after 4 years of living there than you did in
yes,
the first week. Yeah.
yeah.
Me too.
What is
Me
that?
too. the, the world has irretrievably changed, and I think I have a suspicion that a lot of the games we used to play that were just like little games of I think in transactional analysis, maybe it's transactional analysis. I'm not sure. It's called strokes. So you just like stroke each other. Like everybody knows that that's not a
Mm,
funny joke. Like dad jokes are never funny. You endure me doing this every time we go to a cafe.
yeah,
I love making dad jokes and just forcing them on waiters and waitresses because they can't escape. And the intent is obviously not this joke is funny. The intent is like I recognize that you're bored and I've done this job and it sucks. And it's a gesture of solidarity. And people don't care for these small symbolic gestures of solidarity anymore. I
right.
tried to make a joke recently when I was doing nightclub security about a guy who was very large, like muscular, and he was in the way. And I was like, I'm happy for you to be standing beside me, but the problem is that you're simply so large and so muscular, you're blocking the path. And he went absolutely fucking berserk. And I was
Uh,
like, okay, my other alternative, my dear chap, is to say to you, get out of the fucking way, or I'll stove your head in. But I didn't want to do that. So I was trying to be nice. And I think there's sort of like a bleed out of the social lubricant. Like we're less inclined to do this stuff. And it's an alienating experience because
That's
people just can't be asked.
I've actually never heard of this concept, and even I didn't even know that it had like an academic background on it. But I think it makes a lot of sense because even even the idea of just like hanging out for the sake of hanging out, it's getting kind of harder because most of the time it's just of those kind of symbolic gestures to show that solidarity for a longer period of time, but it's
Yeah.
almost like harder to justify doing that even in like a very polite brief exchange with like a barista or
Mm.
something along the lines of that. People are not as adamant to stroke each other, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. In many ways, the lockdowns, like there was a pessimistic view of the lockdown. I had it, and Sam Backman had it, where there was the repetition. He came at it from a different angle to me. His perception of it was different to me, but the conclusion we drew was the same, which was we're never going back to normal. You can forget that.
Yeah,
We will never go back to normal now because there are things here that are broken that have been shattered that cannot be glued back together again. But I didn't know exactly what that would mean. And now when I see it showing up, I'm like, like I'm surprised. I'm like, this is the thing we're not going to do anymore. Okay. And I think like to a degree, we just can't be asked with each other. I'm
yeah,
hearing in every country I visit, there's a really everybody's struggling to find baristas, bar staff, hairdressers, chefs. People can't be fucking asked to go
yeah,
back to work. They can't be asked to go to the shops. They can't be asked to go into town. And then those that do, like those that do go out to nightclubs and bars and whatever. I just got back from Portugal, and like I was chatting away to the taxi drivers and the bar staff there. There's an area called Albufeira where the young English and Irish people go. They said it's the most incredibly violent year on record, and the season hasn't even begun. But
shit.
there is just a tremendous amount of violence. So those that do choose to go out are going out in a sort of a psychotic
Okay,
frame.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I decided to finally get out of Prague for like literally just a day. Went to Karlovy
Wowie.
Vary. Yeah, wow, right?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, Karlovy Vary, which is, I mean, most cities out here are just a mini version of Prague with less things to do, almost. So, so
Good framing, Pierre.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It was pretty, and it was nice to like check it out, but
Yeah.
went to the hipsterish places, pretty good experience because, you know, and then the more center I went with a friend, like the service and the looks and the fucking demeanor just, I mean, we didn't even get helped at all. Just completely flat out ignored in two places. And then the looks
Really?
got more and more fucking hostile as well. And that was kind of a trip. And I'm wondering if it
Yeah.
was always like that, or am I seeing it more now, or just more affected? I don't know.
No, Prague has changed. I remember saying to you on here on Central Question when I was last living in Prague at the tail end of the lockdown. Do you remember me telling you a story when I went out for a walk one night and there was
Yeah.
lads I walked into a fight?
Yes. Yeah.
Lads
Yeah.
actually like Czech guys fighting in the street. And most people hearing that would be like, so what? You're in a city centre, they're drunk. It just doesn't, it's not a Prague thing.
Mm,
British guys
mm.
on stag do's, yes, not Czech guys. And it's like broken bottles. There's like six of them going at each other. And I rounded a corner and they were going at it. It's really unheard of. So no, it's changing. It's changing. And I think it's natural for us to expect these kinds of changes, especially in the younger demographic who just lost, or quite frankly, they just lost a lot. Whether they know it consciously or not, I don't know. But you can definitely feel the anger and the resentment.
Well, speaking of Sneako,
Oh my God, young people going crazy. Do you follow Sneako, ladies and gentlemen? Pierre put
I
me
think
onto Sneako.
I think a small percentage. He's been losing his shit on his live streams.
Tell people who he is for those who don't know
Okay,
Sneako.
so Sneako is a very controversial YouTuber, but he has a lot of very almost introspective, insightful, edgy video essays, and that's how he got really popular. He would make these really elaborate kind of New York attitude things about life and growing up and whatever, and then occasionally he'll drop some really weird shit. And but I think he's like in his early 20s now, something along the lines of that, but the amount of like offensive and just brutally provoking has just increased by 200, especially since he started these live streams where he's just fucking like railing against the world for no reason, dude.
Didn't he rail against one of your critics recently? Somebody who said that you were a spiritual retard. He had on their show, and he
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
savaged her. He ripped her a new one.
yeah, and you know, this is, I think it's a pretty new face, not a new face, but a lot of people that are previously subscribed or familiar with him are just like, bro, what are you doing? But no one can stop watching. Like
Yeah, yeah,
everyone keeps watching. I'll like turn it on just to see what's going on. Then an hour passed, and I'm like, I've just been listening to this dude screaming for an hour and a half. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
yeah, yeah. I'm not as familiar. Have you had contact with him? Have you spoken to him?
You know, it's so funny. We were in a live stream watching some live stream, and he was
Yeah.
there, and I was there, and he actually
Right.
complimented one of my videos about him and
Oh,
D'Angelo,
okay.
and that's like the
Oh,
only.
nice.
I know he knows of me, but other than
Yeah,
that, like yeah,
yeah. He's gonna do a video responding to this tentacle question, screaming and
yeah,
saying
no,
we're
just
a couple of
fucking ripping us
beta
apart.
male simps.
But I mean, I think so. The reason why, you know, you actually made a perfect segue unintentionally, as you usually do, which is like this repressed rage and utter loss and confusion, and more so frustration. I think
Yeah.
it's severe frustration, particularly with the younger crowd, and Sneako would definitely fit into this. But even if you want to go even more specific, it's like young men, young males
Yeah.
are like, you know, where does that all that energy just fucking go?
Well, it's young women too. We've got it in my family. There's a younger member of my family. I've had to sign her up to boxing. I've had to take her boxing. I've had to box with her because of that same thing of repressed rage. I think the social contracts are really breaking down. So it's like, get up, brush your teeth, and go to school. Why? So that you can get good grades. Why? So that you can get a job. Well, that's not true, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. We all know. I have YouTube. I've watched the videos. I know that racking up loads of student debt isn't going to do anything. I know there's no job out there for me. These social constructs have been eroded a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And then in the last 2 years of the lockdowns, they were just torn up and people wiped their assholes with the social contracts.
Oh, for sure. While I say my thing, can anyone let us know about the audio leveling? Are we around the same volume? Should I be higher or lower? Let me know. I'll adjust that.
Come on to get high.
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll talk about Sneako's approach, but I mean, there's no like polite, common decency with a conversation with someone you don't even know or stranger within his streams. They're just like overtly just going for it, emotionally charged and whatsoever. But you know, it is social media, it is the internet. But you and I both have already brought up examples of real life situations where those social niceties are not so important anymore. And I think it is a little demoralizing because it's like, did you know that sand is actually rocks hit with sand?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyways,
It's
the reason
crazy.
why I bring that up is because that's
I say, have you been microdosing mushrooms? Did they just kick in? What?
oh, there's a real reason because it's soft erosion, like getting rid of those social niceties and that agreement to the
Oh,
social
okay.
contract of like having these little strokes throughout your day and interactions with others. That being gone, it feels as if sand is being made, just getting rid of like the rocks with one little tiny thing more and more.
I think there's a definite solution. People are complaining my volume's too low, so I'm going to take the headphone out.
What?
I didn't take it out.
What's going on?
Excuse me.
One moment.
Oh, the audio is way better, dude. Oh shit.
Is that better?
Goodbye. Oh, it's 10 times better, man.
Okay.
Anyways.
Fuck the headphones.
Yeah.
Fuck these headphones. Yeah, no, the structures of many things are dissolving. And you know, I think I'm more optimistic now than I've been in the last 4 or 5 years about the state of culture. But I can see we're definitely right now in a bit of a downturn. I also told you, didn't I, that like when I went back to nightclub security, the third night I worked was the most violent night I'd seen in like 15 years, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and then after that incident, there were more incidents of other doormen doing similar things that came out on Facebook, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And the weird thing was, I couldn't get a consensus from other doormen that this wasn't what we were supposed to do, like without going into any depth whatsoever, because God knows who watches these videos. Let's say a hypothetical: you and I are on the door, you and I, Pierre, are on the door, and somebody racially abuses you as they leave, and you're angry about that, but they're leaving. What can you do? Then they come back later and they get past you, and you find them in the club, and you're very angry, and so you throw them out. And not only do you throw them out forcefully, which is okay. I've been doing it 15 years. Everybody needs a little slap every now and again. It just tightens them up, just sorts the attitude out. But if you dragged that person to the floor and started kneeing them in the head and stamping on them, I for sure would stop you. Not for them, for you, because people have cameras. There are video cameras everywhere. You will go to jail. And I couldn't get this. That was the old consensus. And I couldn't get that from people. All I got from people was they deserved it. And I'm like, we are not gangsters. They may be gangsters. We are not the arbitrators of justice. And you can't be, I'm not being prissy, I'm not being a prude, but you can't be half a gangster. If you want to do that and you want to go play Charles Bronson and whack people over the head with a snooker ball in a sock in New York at midnight, this is a very old reference that nobody here will get. That's the Death Wish movies. If you want to be a vigilante on the streets of a city, go ahead and do that. But it's really stupid to do that whilst wearing a badge that's issued by the government that has your face on it and a number that's directly connected to your home address and your national insurance number. That's just stupid. And I couldn't get a real sense of cohesion about that. And I was like, wow, this is really dangerous.
Yeah.
This is really dangerous.
I think you can even see that reflected within the social media landscape. I think a lot of people are more quick than ever to promote violence or to justify justified violence. Like people these days, I think, are a little more adamant about teaching people lessons, and when they see a clip, it's more so like good serves them right. Like, Choco Afro.
Yeah, our man in Prague.
He posted all those like warnings with the yellow things on Instagram.
He was for people who don't know, the only black member of parliament for a while. And during the lockdowns, he became a meme lord legend.
Yes.
Because we would all go to Choco Afro's Instagram page. He calls himself Choco Afro, by the way.
Yeah.
He calls himself that. And we would go there to find out what the latest Czech mad injunctions were.
Right.
Just to give context.
So he got Me Too'd really hard. Like a ton of girls came out and accused him of the thing, right? And he's under investigation and all those things. But I think he lives really close to me, actually. But just a few days ago, it was reported that he was found in his apartment with 2 stab wounds in his stomach. He stabbed himself twice in the stomach.
What?
It was apparently like an attempted suicide attempt, but I don't think it was so much a suicide attempt as much as it was just like self-harm, because you wouldn't just do your stomach if you really wanted to end it. Like, you know what I mean?
No, nobody stabs themselves in the stomach if they are trying to end their lives. And to actually stab yourself in the stomach with any sort of meaning, you would have to be pretty drunk or pretty high, and also in a very, very desperate emotional state. So is that the allegation, that he's so fallen so far off that he's gone completely mad and he's stabbing himself now?
I think it's confirmed that it was an attempted thing, but the investigation for the Me Too thing is still underway. But the reason why I bring it up is I looked at the comments on Facebook talking about this particular incident, and I'm telling you, like 90% of the comments translated from Czech to English are like making fun of him, like, good, I hope it, like, why, what a fucking idiot, why would he just do your stomach? I was like, why didn't it just go through his head? Like, just like fucking like calling for his death, and like really serious shit, man.
I thought he was, well, I thought he was like a beloved figure in Prague.
Well, he was, until the allegations came out, and then everybody turned.
What are the allegations of? Are the allegations of inappropriate behavior, or is it actual like allegations of full-on sexual assault?
Like full-on R word. Like multiple girls, apparently,
Okay.
And then that's why he resigned and just tried to lay low. But I think something's going on. He stabbed himself twice in the stomach. But regardless, the reason why I'm just talking about like the topic of the encouraging of violence and just like this kind of detachment to it.
And I think maybe also a vengeful attitude towards figures in authority. And at the end of the day, he was a politician. He was a representative. And that could be part of it. Like, if you're punching up, you can never punch hard enough, because in that framework you're infinitely weak and they're infinitely strong. And so cyberbullying him is fine, harassing him online, blog posts about it, it's all good. And then it becomes like a sport. Then you're hunting, and you become a part of a pack. And we know how the psychology of scapegoating can play out, for sure. But yeah, that's interesting that as you say, the narrative got so violent and so extreme so quickly on an ongoing case. It's not a finalized case.
Yeah, and it's like as if everything is just way more gladiatorial than ever. It's like Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, who cut the other fucking person. And it's we've said this a few times before, but I think now the prevalent theme is having it be involved with actual physical violence, like fucking Will Smith thing. It's like Dave Chappelle getting attacked on stage is just like, it really is gladiatorial now in like the most literal sense. Yes.
Yeah, that's my sense of things too. From what I see online and from just the attitude I see in the street. Again, back to Portugal, like as I was walking around Portugal at night, things were very confrontational. Oh, I told Poten this. with my family. We walked out of a nice bar, and I was feeling pretty good. And we were about to get some food together. It was like a little family reunion thing. And a guy walks up to me and he's like, "Oh, bro, do you want sniff? Do you want a sniff?" And I was like, "No, I'm good, thank you." And I said it like that. I did say thank you. I did say I'm good. I said it with a bit of an attitude because he's inviting me to snort coke in front of my family. And I was like, "No, I'm good, thank you." And he walked past me, got behind me, and threatened to shoot me. And I was like,
What do you say?
"Yeah, next time I see you, I'll shoot you, motherfucker." And I was like, that's like, it was still evening. So the sun hadn't gone down yet. So it's around 7 o'clock at night. So he's basically starting his shift of walking around to find Brits and to offer them coke in public, which is fairly risky there. Because if the GNR, if the militarized police catch you doing that, you're in quite a decent amount of trouble. And I was like, wow. So at the start of the shift, just because one guy said no to you, I literally said, "I'm good, thank you." But I didn't kiss his ass. I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm good, thank you, Mr. Drug Dealer." I was like, "I'm good, thank you." His immediate go-to response to that narcissistic injury was to declare in front of like a number of people in front of my family, "The next time I see you, I'll shoot you, motherfucker." And I was like, "Wow, that's a little strong. Like, have some professionalism. I don't mind that you're dealing coke, but be a fucking professional."
A little bit much. Just
a little strong. It's a little strong, you know. Like, people can see you, and he's a big, tall dude. He's a big guy. And I was like, wow. Like, do you want to get caught? But the frivolity and the reflexiveness with which he went to like a next level of violence for nothing really. I think if you're street dealing like that, you just I've never done it, but I would imagine it's a numbers game, and you've got to keep your psychology in the right space. If everybody who speaks to you with a tiny bit of attitude, you're like, "I'll shoot you, motherfucker," you're in for a long night. You're on an 8-hour shift. That's going to be a very difficult 8-hour shift. Plus, what if I walk back again later and see him again?
yeah.
I was shocked by the immediacy of that level of aggression for such a minor thing. It was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to get too deep into this because it's a pretty sensitive subject, but like the continuing school attacks happening in my beloved country, right? I mean, there is a frivolity to violence these days. The perception of actual violence or verbal or reputation attacks are just really seemingly frivolous these days. It's weird how it got there, though.
Yes, it's weird but trackable. I think it's very, very trackable. I think there is, to keep it brief, there's a couple of things that immediately spring to mind. People at the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum for the last 2 years just got fucked.
Yes.
They got pinned down and fucked hard. Yeah. And the lower down the socioeconomic spectrum you were, the worse it was. And the second thing is that makes everybody cranky and grumpy is guilt and shame. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a backlash from people who maybe now don't feel good about what they did and didn't do when this thing kicked off. And in an effort to sort of, it's very Alfred Adler, inferiority complex theory, in an effort to redominate the past, they're overcompensating in the present and into the future by being, you know, what would Patrice O'Neill say to guys? You remember when Patrice O'Neill used to run the Black Phillip show? And a guy would be like, "Oh, my girlfriend did this and she did that." And then the guy would get more aggressive and he's like, "I'm going to tell her and I'm going to do this and I'm going to set a boundary with her." And Patrice would always say, "Don't get gangster now. Don't get gangster now. You're talking to me. You're not talking to her. She's not here. Don't get gangster after the fact. When you're talking to somebody who's not that, I'm not the person. Don't get gangster now." And I think a lot of people are trying to get gangster now, where really they should have been more boundaried and more assertive and more alpha male or whatever you want to call these preposterous attributes 2 years ago. And it's too late. It's done.
That's a very, very interesting take. And I think that has a lot of truth to it, man. Yeah, because the before the whole thing happened was it was so much less about boundaries and so much less about imposing your actual autonomy and having some structure or discipline and stuff. And that resulted in a 2-year situation that the people that didn't have the discipline and structure got fucked beyond belief, because the
Yeah.
people that did have discipline were able to survive a bit easier through
Yeah.
that situation. You bring up class, and I was going to bring up that idea uh, throughout my situation out here. And depending on what I dress, me and physical image, I love experimenting with it just to see what the reactions are, right?
And Prague
So,
is such an open-minded, artistic, bohemian place that nobody barely gives you a second look, right?
yeah, yeah. But I've been toning it down. I wear sunglasses everywhere, and
Because you have to.
because I fucking have to. Because I fucking have to, right? But, what's interesting is seeing the double bind and the dichotomy of I can feel a bit of like class resentment. One day I show up like this to a fucking espresso shop and they think I'm some fucking poor immigrant motherfucker that like stumbled in and just like ruining the vibe. Like I'm an eyesore. You know what I mean? To already the upper middle class. Like, who the fuck is this? That's how I felt at Carlo Vivari. I would go up to this cafe, there's a bunch of old people there. And they're like, you're going to make the whole place look bad. We're not going to serve you, type of a thing. Then on the other hand, if I dress up a bit more, I got like a leather jacket on, fancy sunglasses, then it's like, oh, this motherfucker has more money right now. You
Yeah.
piece of shit. Like, you
100%.
realize that I got a family to feed. I'm working at this as a waiter serving you as a fucking dumbass rich influencer.
Yep.
And I could feel that. There's like a tonality and energy that comes from that, man.
100%. 100%. I never take the adventurous route that you do with clothing, but I've noticed like dressing up, even like if you get in shape, if you put on some nice clothes, you sort yourself out, you pay to get yourself sourced so you're looking good. It's like, and then you put your shoulders back and stick your chest out. It's a problem now. It's a real problem, depending on where you are. But that also is definitely like, who the fuck do you fucking think you are? And that's an invitation. And then, because I'm always interested to see like, what does the environment coach us to do? And what's it like in Portugal? What's it like in mainland Spain? What's it like in Ibiza? What's it like in Prague? What's it like in London? Derby versus Liverpool. I'm always looking at that. What's allowed here? Because it's different. Everywhere is slightly different. And what's it training us to do? And I'm like, I feel like I'm being trained. I do okay for money. I have a BMW convertible. You've ridden it. It's my pride and joy. I love that fucking thing. And there's a few sunny days. I would normally put the top down and I don't know, blast out some ASAP Ferg just to be a bell end.
Yeah.
And I was like, the spontaneous unconscious thought was, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I was like, why not? And then when I thought it through, I was like, oh shit, the environment is training me. Yeah. That's dangerous. I'm going to become the target of resentment if I do that.
You're a mark.
It's not appropriate.
You're a mark.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. It's my version of the convertible is my one wheel with box braids and a chain.
It's the same thing.
And it becomes a big fuck you to anybody that lays their eye on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm saying this from this perspective, but I've seen what it's like on the other to be perceived as someone that has nothing. And then there's also like you're one of those fucking homeless people in this sketchy ass neighborhood in Prague, like get away from me sort of a thing as well. So there's a very literal threat. There's a literal obstacle that really reflects class these days.
This was the same kind of sentiment and ressentiment that they were feeling in Cambodia at the time of the Khmer Rouge, that they were feeling in the French Revolution before they started guillotining the nobility, and in Russia before the Bolshevik Revolution. There was the haves, there was the have-nots. The have-nots are a huge, muscular, not trained to think in a nuanced way. They have low resolution perspectives of difficult problems, and they come up with low resolution solutions to those problems, it is dangerous. Yeah. This is dangerous where we've gotten to right now. And I think I'm not like, in the trigonometry interview, I said this is all going to lead to gulags and genocide. Not yet, but we are one step further along that same path towards that outcome. It wouldn't take much for some, Douglas Murray always predicts this. It would just take one piece of shit with the right words and the right ideology to light the spark, and you could have a real revolution on your hands, a nasty one, a sort of a Stalinist or Hitlerist type of revolution.
I highly recommend this short series called Fliptopia under the Pierre XO channel. If you want to see Pierre XO, I don't know if you've heard Pierre XO. Pure X A. No. But
is that the PP Starshine channel?
That's the PP Starshine channel. If you guys want to see a narrative reflection of this thing come into fruition. Anyways, shameless plug aside.
Yeah, folks, this is Pierre's new series. It's very good. Check it out.
Yeah, I got Richard's stamp on it. But anyways, yeah, it's well, it's surely not going the other way. It's not going to peace and love and everything's going to be fine. You know what I mean?
Because it's not. Because it's not. Now, if everything is going to be fine, and the economy is growing and people feel good, then you have movements of peace and love. I mean, if you look at the 90s, it was far from a perfect time. But you look at some of the stuff that was in the charts, like dance music, CNC Music Factory, what were they called? Justified Ancients and Moo Moo. Those were British groups. And there was like this sort of MC Hammer Time, right? That's a silly song about nothing.
Yeah.
But it was just like a feel-good track. And so it wasn't all like that. But I would say generally there was a sense of optimism because the economy was in growth. And, you had hit music that came out that was basically built on a drug culture, a whole drug culture, like the acid house thing. It was a misnomer. Obviously, it was never about acid. It was about ecstasy. Well, why were people taking ecstasy? To feel good. And why did they create that music? Because it elevated the feeling good of the drug that you were already taking. It was like feeling good to feel good to feel good to feel good. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm merely reflecting back that that's what was going on then. You couldn't have that movement now. There just isn't that level of hopefulness and optimism now.
And that's exactly why I appreciate the late 80s aesthetic. It's just naive optimism presented as movies and music and just creativity just for the pure sake of it. Where now the main form of entertainment is journalism. When I wanted to make a video, perhaps a topic that I wanted to make a video about, maybe, I found it interesting when I was reflecting on the state of mainstream content. It's journalism or this litigious, law-based analysis of things. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is the most literal example, but if you look at like the long form character breakdowns or like infographic edutainment, that's all lawyerish data nuance and there's like this litigious approach to making entertainment. Like, why is law the main form of entertainment these days? Like, he said this on the she said this on, if you look at the receipts on the timestamp of blah, 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 that's why they're a piece of shit. And then the next person goes, they're not a piece of shit. This is the timestamp of blah, blah, blah. That's like entertainment now.
Yeah, that's entertainment. The reason I think is this generation is being entrained to enjoy righteous indignation and outrage more than sex, more than dancing, more than feeling good, more than like all the dumb shit that people did for generations, like driving fast motorcycles and fast cars. They're enjoying conflict more. Yeah. And it's turning them into litigious, cranky nerds who are addicted to the kill. They're addicted to the win. They want to win. So they'll study it. Now, you're absolutely right. I had a little experience of this. I was sick. I was playing a video game on my laptop. I wanted to listen to something that was long form. So I was listening to a film analysis of the Star Wars movies, the recent round of Star Wars movies that was going to get into how the writing failed. Yeah. The first 40 minutes, this young man who made this viral video with millions of views is him rebutting piece by piece, analytically, like a lawyer,
Yeah.
everything that people had said to him about the previous videos. And I'm playing this game and I don't want to stop. Like I say, I feel sick. I'm just like, whatever. I can't even be asked stopping this guy from going on. But I bet the comments are full of hatred for this. So I eventually finish my game. I go check the comments, and the comments are full of, thank you so much for your critical step-by-step breakdown bullet point analysis of all the ways in which your critics are wrong. And they were in this deep conversation about artwork and objective reality and subjective reality. And I'm like, you're a bunch of fucking 22-year-olds. I'm glad that you're using your brains. I'm glad that you're thinking. But this shouldn't be your life. Like, this isn't, you're not living. This isn't living. This is shit that 55-year-olds do when their dicks don't work anymore. Like, your dicks still work.
Yeah.
Go use them.
And everyone knows lawyers don't have soul. So, but isn't that so strange? Like, how did we get a point in culture where the mainstream form of entertainment is edutainment in the form of litigious rebuttal, of like podium standing, receipt analyzing, body language analysis of this thing? Like, what happened to watching something fucking cool for the sake of something cool, or just listening to something that just sounds good? But more so because, you know, the reason why I'm really bringing this up is like because I'm trying to evaluate perhaps where to take my channel now, you know, and whatever. And I came to the conclusion, well, the most what do you say, the most impactful view wise or consumer wise, whatever marketing terminology you want to use, is a type of video essay or a type of breakdown. What kind? Well, the good ones have a lot of infographics. A lot of them have like bullet point research. A lot of them are laying things out as if you're doing an, you know, 8th grade presentation and you're trying to get an A+ for your 4.0 GPA. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You know, that does not feel like creating anything. That's not creation. What is that? Like, what is that? That's not creating anything. What's the terminology for that?
It is edutainment. I think that's it. It's edutainment. And it's the type of thing the cool teacher would do for 16-year-olds in his class to curry favor with them, to make it more interesting. One of the things that when you said, why do people want this now as a form of entertainment? And I thought, if I had to come up with an answer for that, how would I bullshit my way through? Because I like bullshit my way through stuff. I actually don't know. I don't know the answer. But if I had to bullshit my way through it like a lawyer, I would say something like, if you guilt trip a generation hard enough, they will eventually feel guilty for doing anything that seems fun at all. So all of the social conscience propaganda that they've struggled under, now just having fun is unacceptable. And the only thing that they're left that they can experience, like a little Potent the Rockstar's phrase, one crumb of serotonin, will be to win an argument. So let's now sit here and train how to win a fucking argument through our YouTube videos.
I mean, a big thing about that Sneako and D'Angelo Wallace feud, Sneako was grilling D'Angelo about making fun of, just mocking him and being like, what are you doing? You're wagging your finger at a bunch of influencers throwing a party. You know, no parties during COVID. Oh my God, you want to bankrupt them? Is that what you want, D'Angelo? Like that type of thing. And it's like, no fun, only research. You only have to research, because that's my conclusion. This type of content is not creating, it's not art, it's research. And that's fine if that's what you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for academic stuff, I mean, I think this is also a reflection of how Jordan Peterson came to be, because it's a literal college lecture. Like a college lecturer being an icon in pop culture, whether you like him or not.
Yeah.
This rarely happens. I mean, no one talks about actors unless they do something fucking bad. But now someone revered for being a college professor, you know, that's another thing.
And that reputation was built on unedited videos of him delivering lectures. And maybe we should have figured it out then, that the future of YouTube was long form, hour and a half long pontificatory lectures about symbolism and mythology. It's like this, which I like. I love his whole 2015 lectures where he's still chubby. I think he's great. That's where I fell in love with him.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like I fucking binge watched so much edutainment myself, and I made that shit as well. But you know, you get so deep in this wave that you don't realize you're in the wave. And the moment I've stepped back and looked at it, I'm like, when was the last time a YouTuber made like an original fun video just for the sake of it? The only person that I can think of that does that is Mr. Beast. You know Mr. Beast?
I recognize the name. What kind of videos does
He does
do?
these crazy things like, I spent $3 million to make sharks fly, or like I created my own Squid Game and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? That kind of crazy shit. But anyways,
I think it comes back to what we said before. Like when you're walking around a town, or you live in a town for long enough, and you come to realize what the social coordinates are. You realize what the overt injunctions and what the covert injunctions for your behavior are, and you have like a window of acceptable behavior and modes of speech and so on that you're either rewarded for or punished for, and that's how you learn. The internet's the same. What are you allowed to do online now? Like, unless you already have 10 million followers and you always made silly fun videos as a newcomer, if you come on and be like, here's a silly fun video, I don't know, maybe you get gang stomped or just like discarded as being lame or cringe or whatever the fuck they say.
Yeah, and this is actually one reason why I somewhat revere, that's a positive thing, right? Revere is like to praise, to praise TikTok, because at least it's fun and it's it's nonsensical most of the time, and that's what you go there for. And YouTube has become more of a very academic place, which is, if that's what you're looking for, it's fine. But I look at my feed these days and I'm like, this is all research. Like, this is just all research information, you know?
That's very interesting. It's an interesting frame for looking at the YouTube videos that were being suggested. Like, this is actually research. It's not entertainment, where TikTok is, or some of TikTok still has those like 3-minute lecturettes. I quite like them. But yes, largely speaking, it is much faster and much more impulsive and a little wilder. But no, it is. I think you make a really, really good point, that it's kind of strange to see a culture of litigiousness growing up, and one that doesn't seem to bring much reason with it. So people do faux reasoning. They don't seem to do real reasoning, and so you end up with all of the semblance of a rational argument, but no rationality at its core. Like the entire precepts and the presuppositions that the supposedly rational argument is built on are gibberish. They're just absolute nonsense. But they use the language and the loquaciousness of somebody who's presenting a litigious, rational argument before a judge and jury.
Right. And, that's exactly why I felt this inherent block of when I am thinking about doing a video essay. And then I think about the process and it pulls me to it not at all. Because it's like, I might as well just stayed in college for the last 5-6 years. Except this is even more work because I'm video editing an essay, not just writing the fucking thing.
Well, it's very interesting because I think it's undeniable, unless I'm way off in my assessment, that if you did videos breaking down elements of psychology in a way that was or philosophy in a way that was funny and accessible and related it to current cultural events, there's no way that wouldn't be a hit. But it's a huge amount of work, and as you just said, it's fundamentally college style. You're basically writing it. It's called a video essay, right? And the first part is the essay. It's actually an essay video. You have to write the essay first, and then you break it down into a video. I've done it. It is hours of work. It's hours and hours of work.
Then you got to not stutter delivering the fucking essay, talking about it. You got to say it, I watched a video today of like YouTubers, actors that started off on YouTube And then one guy just unlocked a memory that I forgot that I even had. But there was this one dude who went viral for that song, "Show Me Your Genitals."
Yeah,
You remember that?
John Lahoy.
How do you know his name? What the fuck?
I love him.
Yeah. So, but he's
Is
an
it
actual actor.
John Lahoy or John Le Jolie or so?
I don't remember.
Canadian kid. Yeah,
I don't remember, but he's an actual actor now. He's like actually.
is he really?
Yeah, he's in real shows and stuff like that.
Wow,
But
cool. Good for him.
humble starts of "Show Me Your Genitals." You know,
Right.
like it was a goofy ass dude with some like nerdy ass clothes on, just doing this really ridiculous song, and that was just creating for the sake of fun, and that was it, and that was everywhere. That was like, you know, dumb to some people at the time, but looking back at where we are now, I have such a fond nostalgia for this like naive, childish thing.
It was silly. I mean, he was good, and he was part of a movement. It's like a sub niche of hip hop, really, which is it was mainly white guys doing ironic hip hop, and it was lampooning like Two Live Crew style, hypersexualized music. And he did a few tracks, and they were good. Like generally speaking, they were good. Instead of saying, "I'm an ultra tough gangster and I love selling crack and shooting people," he was like, "I'm a very average, normal guy, and a couple of times a month I get constipated." And that was his whole shtick. But he wasn't on his, like, Three Loco were a little bit that way. It was kind of ironic. And then you had the Lonely Island. They also were doing like low effort. Well, obviously it's high effort. It's really difficult to do, but they would seem like they were doing a really bad a job of rapping. But of course, to do it badly, you actually have to. They actually really understand it. They actually really understand the medium. So yeah, but no, that's. I didn't realize he was acting now. I thought he was great, and yeah, he does sum up like a different time. He's from a different YouTube time period altogether.
I actually passed by Jackass 4.5 on Netflix. Okay. I'm like, let's just see. You will realize how many new social barriers that you've constructed in the last 8 years when you see this. Although these guys are older and it's not the same, they do some pretty fucked up shit still within it. I'm talking about the pee-pee, the poo-poo, the ball smashing stuff. And it's like so hard to watch. I mean, the amount of times I had to look away, but I liked it.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, maybe other than when I was like 13 liking it, but I just thought it was stupid shit after 13, right?
Yeah.
But now I have this like respect for it, just to be like, wow, you still decided to do this in this time period. You know, this shit is profane, the stuff that they do, man. And I think I just appreciate the relentlessness of it.
I'll try it. I'll give it a go. Listen, in the effort of shilling for Netflix, which we both do because Netflix gives us upwards of 500,000 a month to do that. Have I ever said on here that I really like the show Better Call Saul?
No, but I know the show.
Yeah, I really like that show, everybody. I always say about shows I don't like. I love that one. And I didn't like Breaking Bad. It's a spin-off of Breaking Bad. I thought Breaking Bad was tedious. But I love Bob Odenkirk, who plays this sleazy lawyer called Saul Goodman. It's good. It's really, really good. Watch it. If you like good writing at the level of The Sopranos and good character development, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, which not a lot of people do these days, but if you do,
if you're one of the 10 people left, it still do. He still gives a shit about anything like that.
I saw a thing occasionally popping up on my TikTok, but a YouTube video just made about it in a litigious way again. But there's a new AI called Dolly, where you basically put one sentence in of the most absurd image you can think about. And this AI creates multiple versions of what you're asking for. So if you want to say, can I get a pigeon sitting in a wheelbarrow? And then it will actually like Photoshop those images, and they look good. They look like somebody actually did it. You know, if you wanted to say like, can I get a Salvador Lee type painting of my mom on crack? Like it will actually put that together. and some of it is even done better than somebody actually trying to paint that.
There's a guy who I've been talking to and working with for a few years called Jack Donovan, and he's posted some of these pictures on his Instagram, and I'm like, God, they're actually good. I hate that. I fucking hate that these actually are evocative, poetic, and good. Fuck, how can it be good?
And it's like the AI has more soul than actual creators in art these days. And that's kind of what I wanted to maybe make a new video about, in a fucking video essay format, of course. But, you know, the idea, first I was like, oh shit, this is going to change art forever. You know, because if an AI can just mock up images just from a few keywords, then what's the point of having a human
and produce something better than you would in 6 months living in Bordeaux, drinking absinthe and crying and masturbating on the floor with a loaf of bread, breaking your soul.
You don't need to fucking cut your ear and stare at the Starry Night, bro.
And the computer's like, what are you doing? And like, I'm plunging the depths of my soul to do the ultimate painting. And the computer goes, 1 second. Do you mean like this? And you go, yes. Why did I even bother?
Yeah. So exactly, no pain involved or whatever.
Nothing.
And then I was thinking, I was just thinking about the implications of this. And one of the things was like, well, you know what? Humans now don't even try to be creative. So I was thinking it's going to take away from real artists and whatever, but it's like people don't even try to make that shit in the first place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, fucking let the computer do it at this point, if everybody just does the same goddamn shit anyways with no creativity.
It's very interesting. There's a book I just read by a guy called Peter Watts. It's called Blind Sight. It's a sci-fi book. And I didn't agree with most of what he wrote in it. And I found his style of writing a bit irritating. However, there is no book that has forced me to do as much thinking as this fucker did in years. And a lot of it is around like the nature of consciousness, the nature of human agency, free will, and our sense of who we are. And it's set in a future that's post-human. So people get the augmentations that they want, or they can choose to just check out of life and go to heaven, which is essentially a matrix pod. So they get their DNA changed, they get like microcomputers put in that allow them to do this, that, and the other thing. And he doesn't say it in this narrative, but when you live in that world that he's created, you start going, when will we create technology that effectively makes humanity just totally fucking redundant? How far off are we? We might not be that far away, where we're so fucking clever that our evolutionary process isn't that, like, it's not like Skynet and we create skeletal metal machines that shoot us to death, but that we build a world where we just don't count anymore. We just, like, the thing that we are is an interesting historical artifact, but nothing more than that.
All right, well, let's load up the Black Pill RPG right now, because I'm about to fucking say some shit right now.
It's about to pop off. Take run for cover, motherfuckers.
I mean, that's a fucking fascinating concept. However, machines do what factory workers used to do 100 years ago already. It's almost obsolete to have real factory workers, or it will be very soon. Like a lot of those Amazon workers, I mean, they're not going to be working there in the next 5 years, decade at max, right? So that's going to take away that thing. The whole truck driver thing that Andrew Yang was talking about, like automated self-driving cargo, that's going to be a thing. I even heard that even law, speaking about litigiousness, they can just analyze everything through actual evidence and just run it through an algorithm. A lot of these things, I mean, technology is going to replicate itself without humans. They're going to develop other technology within it. If there's deep fakes, you can, those AI that create stand-up comedy that actually is funnier than a lot of people.
Yes, I sent somebody AI stand-up comedy just the other day because it's so good. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious, dude.
But I don't know how I'm laughing. I'm like, am I laughing what am I laughing at? Am I laughing ironically?
You know,
It was
you
really
know,
weird. It was a really weird experience to laugh at this
but you
stuff.
know why it's actual funny, not just because it's AI. Because if a person actually did the same thing, it would be just as hilarious.
100%.
Yeah, you look it up, guys. AI makes comedy on YouTube. It's really
Yeah,
funny.
AI writes Batman is also
Okay.
hilarious. There's a Batman narrative written by AI, and then you have humans reading it out, and it is just. I think what's funny is what AI. It's the mistakes. It's the mistakes that AI makes.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know, a comedian walks on stage and says, "Hello, I am comedian," and you're like, "Haha, that's funny."
Yeah.
Why is it funny? Because the AI thinks that that's how stand-up comedians. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I got a little more. I got a little.
Yeah,
more.
I know you do. But let me get into a more comfortable seat because I know you have a lot on this.
Okay.
Go
Can I
ahead.
go? Can I go pee pee while you sit?
Yeah, go pee pee in the teepee. Well, there you go, kids. It's PP. It's AI, and soon all that will be left is PP. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not very well. Do you want to hear about my illnesses? No, that's tedious. It's actually today's the first day I started to feel better. I felt like absolute shit all week, but you know what helps? I'll show you what helps. This helps so much. It's called Yalla Aryan. It's for Aryans, and it's like salty milk for Aryan people, and it gives you power. And that's why I'm drinking it. It tastes of colonialism and theft. Hype,
Rice milk. Rice milk. Okay. So this is what I got. All right.
Mhm.
They even made an AI that samples voices like Eminem, and they run it through a generator that makes an Eminem song with his actual voice. Have you seen that?
Whoa. No.
They've done it with Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, where they've
Right.
basically developed an AI song created in the likes of Eminem, 50 Cent, Nirvana, all these things.
That's worrying.
And yeah. So I mean, even the most practical aspects of life, you're gonna have drones delivering your fucking food, you know? So it's like your broke ass 18 depressed kid is not gonna give you your pizza anymore. So 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 I thought, okay, all right, if robots technology take over certain aspects of life, especially practically, there's not really a way around the practical parts because if it's cheaper and more efficient, they're just going to do it. And I thought about the artistic realm, okay, because that's technically supposed to be more human, more soul, whatever it is, content, art, film, music, content, right? And I thought there was maybe a glimmer of hope here because I thought my first thought was, all right, well, AI can't exactly do what we're doing here, which is like a very unfiltered human back and forth conversation that's heavily improvised, that has mannerisms and stuff.
Mm.
And then I thought this, you ready? I'm going to bring both of us in it, but more particularly me.
I'm preemptively feeling pain, ego pain. Go ahead.
How often do we say things our audience doesn't want to hear?
That's a good question.
I think we
Why
say a lot.
why was that a variable that you chose to focus on?
I will explain. I'm assuming that we do say quite a bit of things that a lot of people don't want to hear or they disagree with.
Okay, probably yes.
Imagine if there were versions of us that said exactly what other people wanted to hear.
Okay, imagining.
So what are they going to choose? If there was a choice between watching a version of us that occasionally says offensive things or things they disagree with, or would they pick a version where it's I have my hair long again, I got my box braids, I make K-pop, you're shirtless, veiny, and sweaty? Your voice is right next to their ear.
I'm ASMRing every sentence.
Yes.
I'm like a
Who-
talking penis in this scenario. I love it.
So what would they choose?
Well, it's very tempting to think that the majority of people would take the thing that gives them the most pleasure. Ultimately, you consume this content because it's pleasurable. You don't consume content that you hate and that makes you uncomfortable.
Right. And basically what I'm pointing towards is that if people had the option to basically receive a creator or someone they admire in the exactly perfect image that they desire, they would choose that over an actual person.
I think most people, yeah. I knew this was going to be painful.
I warned you, Black Pill RPG, dude.
The other part of it that pains me, and I think it would be extremely difficult to witness, is how imagine the ego burn of being replicated by an AI and then just realizing just how replicable you are.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
of course.
the back and forth is not like people actually keep tuning into it because there's a lot of repetition, not because it's original content all the time. And if you listen to somebody for 3 or 4 years, like people who listen to Slavoj Žižek for years, you can parody him because you know his sentence structure and you know his takes on everything. Like, you know what Patrice O'Neill would say about this. You know what Bill Hicks would say about that. You know what Pierre XO is going to most likely feel about this situation. So, yeah, it would be really ego pain damaging to see a more affable version of you. Maybe in this sci-fi horror story, you're trapped in a prison and you're forced to watch as AI just takes over your life. And they're like, look, do you see how much more lovable you are now? Do you see how much more successful you are now?
I've got so many fucking more sci-fi ideas for the next few series.
This is Black Mirror by Pierre XO.
Yeah, like imagine that as a Black Mirror type of episode where, say, for example, like imagine this. Oh, this is fuck. I should just keep this to myself. But okay, let's take an actual. No, let's not take an actual celebrity. Is it really called Aryan?
I was wondering when you'd catch it. I'm drinking Aryan juice. Look, it has a white lady on it, and she's like, empire, colonialism,
and it's white milk out of all things,
and it's salty. It's fucking salty white people's milk. Taste the dominance.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so imagine this, like you take an actual celebrity and of course inevitably they get canceled because fuck celebrities, right?
Right.
But you really like their work. Now you can have a version of that celebrity that's completely within your moral standards and you feel no guilt listening to them now because it's the actual AI version, while the real celebrity's in prison and they have to watch an AI that the record label owns that people choose because it's unproblematic, it's whatever, you know.
Keeps the shareholders happy, keeps the corporation happy. Everybody's making money. You and your stupid soul and your principles and your morality, fuck that. The machine doesn't reward that shit.
Yeah.
The machine rewards profit.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure a lot of people would look at me and you and just be like, man, if they just didn't talk about this, or if they didn't say this, or if they didn't make a joke like that, if they did, they would probably just choose the AI version that's just doesn't have all that and just optimize the best parts that they choose that they like.
Well, I've had the opportunity, not often, but 2 or 3 times where people who've reached out to me who had that level of clout and they're like, do you want to do a TV show or do you want to do this work? And I'll say yes. And they'll go, there's a couple of things we need to change though. And they immediately just want to cut your balls off.
Yes.
You can't swear. You can't talk about this. You can't do. Could you be a bit more respectful when you? And I'm like, no. And I'm also not taking Satan's big dongs down my throat. You can keep his dongs. I don't. You suck his dongs. You suck. If you like the taste that much, you fucking suck him.
Yeah. So, and then now I'm thinking, okay, then because I think it's going to be primarily the consumer's choice at that point. It's not so much the technology that is going to force people to watch it. It's going to be people that actually want to consume entertainment, and they're going to be the ultimate decision maker of whether this thing actually takes off or not. You know, because and I generally think most people would rather see the squeaky clean consumer friendly version of whatever the fuck they want to see.
Probably. I think threat is a big issue. So something that's edgy is threatening. And if you're easily intimidated, and the mass of humanity is frightened and easily intimidated now, then yeah, you would want the thing that is most reassuring and comforting and that panders to your ego. I think the way to know that what I'm saying is true is you look at morning show hosts in any country. You could choose Bulgaria, you could choose Spain, you could choose Brazil, you could choose Czech, choose my country, choose America. Whatever that is, whatever that range of tonality and inflection and topic is, that's your range. That's it. Morning show TV host, because they are the ones who every day are speaking to millions and millions of people, not you, not me, and not people like us.
And I was thinking, okay, I thought maybe there was an escape route to this dystopia, which is like, okay, what if people just eventually get tired of the squeaky clean and they wanted something more real and raw and edgy? But you can optimize that still. You could still optimize virtual us to be even more edgy and more raw and more vicious.
I hate this. I fucking hate this, because I actually, you know what I hate is we're not talking distant sci-fi future. We're talking now. Like, this is doable now. This is like deep fake. You could use half human intelligence and half AI, and you could probably do a pretty good job of that if you absolutely had to. Within a week, you could probably come up with something within a week that would basically function as that, and it would probably pass the Turing test for like 80% of people wouldn't even realize it wasn't us.
Right. So then what is the variable that would emphasize the human more? What is that? Is there, if any?
Do we care? Like,
no.
In capitalism, it's the market that decides what's good. There's no objective sense of what's good. It's one of the reasons why I love it and also hate it. When it comes to sales and marketing, if the market says the Kardashians are the best thing on TV and let's all watch it, then guess what the fucking best thing on TV is? They dictate. It's a democracy. I don't get to dictate. I don't get to say, oh, it's crude, it's stupid, it's narcissistic, it's morally degenerate. Fuck you, Richard, and your stupid ideas. So do we even want humanity? And I would argue, not really. It's challenging. We don't want it. Like, we, the massive humanity, don't want to think. We don't want to reflect. We just want to feel good. We just want to feel good. And if you scrub the humanity out of the content that you're consuming, because the humanity is always in the vulnerability and the chaos. And every time there's vulnerability and chaos, I'm reminded of my humanness, my finiteness, my insecurities, my failings, and so on. No, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Right.
I just want to feel good.
Well, you mentioned challenge, right? So that could possibly be a variable that would differentiate if people maybe adapted a taste that leans towards challenge. But could AI even replicate that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think disturbingly, yes. So when you asked the question before, would people choose the nice version of us or the challenging version of us? And I said, well, they go where the pleasure is. For some people, like you and like me, there's pleasure in the challenge. There's pleasure in the fight itself.
Right.
So because the person I'm listening to is being an asshole about a subject, and I'm just saying, oh, I don't agree with that, but why not? And then I like thinking, why do I not agree with that? And I just enjoy thinking. So there would be a market for that as well. But the AI could do that. It would be like, oh, this is how we're going to do 90% agreeable and 10% controversial. And there would be to like a percentile or a fraction of a percentile. It's extremely disturbing. Yeah,
I know. I warned you. I think I'm gonna add a bit of this in the next episode, but like I imagine it so much. I can't even lift this up; it's stuck to wires. Whereas it should be wireless by now. But my mixer board has a bunch of knobs, and I imagine it's gonna be very similar to that. Say if you're watching a creator and they start cussing too much, you just turn the curse word knob down a little bit. If they're a bit too slow, and which you actually that's already a fucking thing. You can change the speed of the YouTube video, right?
Yep.
So you just fucking turn that up, make it faster. If they're not as funny, then turn up the funny meter. And if you think they're trying too hard to be funny, you turn down the funny meter. It's just it's all gonna be within these knobs and coding, man.
Definitely. I think, and I don't think that's distant either. I think that will be, as you said, we can already change the speed. Probably, I mean, it will be obviously much easier to do with influencers who are pure AI, who are robots, and we already have them, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
You could set the algorithm for that probably an awful lot easier and an awful lot faster than you could with a human being, but it will all be possible in the end. They'll find a way in the end.
It's pretty dark because I can't see a situation where in the near future or far future where humans are absolutely necessary to be there for a service or anything.
There won't be. We are making ourselves redundant. But as I said that before, I was like, this is not new technology. So one of the phrases in this book by Peter Watts called Blind Sight that I do recommend people read, one of the phrases he says multiple times in the book is technology implies belligerence. And I was like, that's an interesting phrase. You can kick that around inside your head. Belligerence, technology is belligerence. Why is that? One of the things that I would say is technology predicts redundancy. Technology predicts, or maybe not predicts, whatever the verb is to make something inevitable, or predates redundancy. And we've already seen that. So technology that is affected, because we sometimes talk about masculinity, when we stop being hunter-gatherers and the technology of houses and the technology of farming and the technology of farming implements meant that we stayed in one place, the masculine, the need for men to violently kill animals so that we could all eat them, or to violently kill opposing tribes so that we wouldn't all be tortured to death, raped and genocided, starts to disappear. So we came up with a technology that made the essentiality of masculinity slowly more and more redundant. And now we're in the final phases of that, where our testosterone levels are dropping. And every, the difference between the polarity between men and women is so blurred now, it's barely visible at all. So yeah, there is that. Technology always implies or predates redundancy. The more technologically advanced you become, the less necessary you are. It doesn't matter whether you're a human or you're a Zubog alien from another planet. The better your tech is, Zubog aliens with 8 arms and 2 fucking antennas for eyes, the better your tech is, the less useful you, the alien Zubog, is.
And so then the final step is artificial wombs, lab-grown babies. Because at that point, humans don't need a flip. Humans don't need to they don't need to flip necessarily, but more so conceive. And if you don't have to deal with the fucking pain and shit, people already utilize technology to not feel as much pain during that process too.
Absolutely. Technology is used to feel less pain. And you say lab-grown babies. Okay, fine. But for how long? Like, why in this technological future are we even having babies?
So that makes me think the only thing left is human subjectivity. It's at that point, it's all subjective human experience and nothing more.
So just to interject, we've sort of presented a timeline to each other and to the people in the chat of where this can go, and there's an inevitability to it. And then you come up with a sort of moving towards a conclusion or a summary, start saying, well, the only thing left is human subjectivity. Do you see how people come up with the simulation theory now?
Yeah. Oh shit.
This is the to get simulation theory, because I get it and then it slips away like a little silvery fish. You have to go through the history of humanity to technology to the point where you start to find You have to push your brain to find iterations of humans drifting off into the future where you go, what's left? Only the human subjective experience is left. Okay, what would we do to preserve that?
Oh shit.
And then what he said, it's Neil Spohr, I think, said, the more human civilizations in your mind, you have to hold them, and you create multiple timelines. If they survive into the future, the further into the future they go, the more technology they have, provided they don't kill themselves, genocide themselves, nuclear war. The further they go in these branches that you create in your mind, the more likely that is to happen. And the more likely it is, the further that drifts off into the future, that we are not a first generation reality, that we are a second or maybe a third or even a fourth or a fifth or a sixth generation reality, meaning not just a simulation, but a simulation within a simulation within a simulation.
And that's the singularity, because when you go back to that point, what is there left to do other than to repeat the cycle again?
Exactly.
So it's like an inevitable, because okay, say if you do reach singularity endpoint where you realize that whatever could be simulation or whatever the fuck, right? What is there left to do other than, well, maybe we should just start it all over because there's nothing left. There's we're here again.
And there must be, in different iterations and in different multiverses, people that just say, no, let's not. And then you would have religious battles. You would have basically jihads over people saying, don't start it again. So if you took like
shit,
right?
Oh fuck.
So in his second book, this Peter Watts' second book, there are two. Actually, it's in Blindsight as well. There are factions fighting, and the realists. So you would be more pro simulation and pro technology. People like me are pro realists. Where in this world the split is between people like me and people like you, and we're the terrorists. So we blow up the simulation centers and we kill the people who are trying to create simulations, and your lot has to stop them. And it would be a religious level war, a jihad, where you go, no, reality should remain as it is, and other people saying, no, the simulation is the future of human consciousness. Because people like me would say, let it end. Let's choose silence. Just let it end. I don't want to live trapped inside of a simulation. Let's have the silence of the Milky Void forever.
Bro. Holy fuck.
Bro.
We really stretched this time. Jesus Christ.
But that simulation theory is you need this whole, because I get it and then I forget it. I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah. I'm too dumb. I did too much boxing or too much cocaine. I can't get it. But you have to go through the implications of technology from our past into our present, off into the future, and then realize how fucking redundant we are. Like we are within reach of human redundancy now.
Like at this moment, it's made the most sense that it ever has to me currently, like right now.
But tomorrow you will have forgotten and you'll be like, I don't know, it made sense then and I can't get it again.
But that's part of the simulation mechanism, because it wouldn't be worth it if you could remember all of that all the time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So, but I think you bring up a really good point. And if you guys in the chat want to participate, it gets to that metaphysical question. If you get to end point and you know that either you have two options, you repeat the same cycle of all the human life experience just because there's nothing else to do and you go through the thing again, or you just let it annihilate itself and not allow the whole thing to go in its redundant circle all over again. You know, that's a pretty interesting question, man. I don't even have the answer to it.
No, nobody ever has. And it throws into, I'm not the first person to say this. I think our view of modernity and technology as such is probably a little off. Like we tend to think in this rather condescending way that the centuries before us were extremely primitive and full of stupid people who just were ultra racist, ultra sexist. They did witch burnings and that. Okay, there was that, but it can't have been everybody. It's so arrogant to think that only we have the hardware to think, no, that's a stupid idea. And when you look at religious wars that have already been, like, just look at the history of the United Kingdom. It was recently that Protestants and Catholics were torturing each other to death. We massacred each other on the British Isles. It's a small place, didn't even have that big of a population, over these issues. over these issues. When does the simulation end, and what do we do with that? And are you ruining the afterlife? Are you ruining eternity? It's not the same question, but it's a similar question. The Bogomils, the Gnostics, the good Bosnians, the Bosnai, they tried to answer these questions, and they came up with a different answer. They said they were realists. They said this world is a simulation. It's created by a dark and twisted God. Don't have kids. Don't have children. Only have anal or oral sex if you get really horny. That wasn't all the Gnostics, but the Bogomils believed that. And they said, don't bring children into this world because you're just furthering the simulation. Let it end. Let's find peace. Let's find peace in silence and let it end.
We're gonna go real deep, man. Like,
isn't that the lamest, weirdest excuse to try and get oral sex from somebody? Listen, we're gonna trap consciousness, the light, the soul. Let's just suck it.
You gotta give me head now. So, I had something.
Sorry.
Just being a dick. You distracted me with head, dude. Primitive male brain. Okay, so that implies. Okay, this is what I got. But letting it end, I think, implies a physicality to it. So, is it even possible to end, particularly what seems like an unphysical thing?
Fuck, dude. Okay, so Jesus Christ.
Like,
so then, the horror would be you win your jihad and you win the religious war, and you say we don't hate our enemies, but this is the way it is. Reach for the switch of doom. We have chosen silence. Sorry, brothers and sisters, but we feel it's for the best. And we hit the switch of doom, and the lights go out, and then 5 seconds later they switch back on, and we're like, oh fuck. Level 5 commenced.
or that was part of the test to get into the next cycle.
You have unlocked level 5 simulation. You're like, no, God,
that's like
so many people.
That's like an episode of
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. That was my first choice, and then the Duncan Trussell thing.
Oh yeah, Midnight Gospels.
Midnight Gospel. Yeah.
You're there covered in gore and guts. This warrior in this huge mechanized suit. You're like, I have killed so many, but it was worth. You're like on a pile of bones.
Yeah.
you click the button, brothers and sisters. We want to click level 5 initiated. No.
But the good thing is that you would have had to repeat level 4 if you didn't hit the button. So
you would have to keep going. You'd have to keep going through the level. It's like Inception now. So you'd have to go through the levels of the simulation, and probably it would get weirder and weirder because God knows how far away we are from our original reality now.
Yeah.
How weird is this one? Because it would only make sense that with every new simulation, because you're being created by simulated people, every little error in the code or bit of ego darkness that was put into the NPCs will mutate and propagate. So probably by the time we get back to the original reality, we'll be like, damn, this is like everything is 2D. There's only primary colors. There's only 2 things you can eat. This is like, there's nothing there.
Well, it's like amoeba reality.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
you wake up, you're an amoeba, you're like, what the fuck?
and then you're like, this is boring. What if we had another color? You know?
Yeah.
And then it gets all complex again.
Well, so then when you look at the complex, this is like almost like Terence McKenna sort of terrain now as well. Why is there so much complexity in this reality? Why is it so heavy? Is because it is a shadow of a shadow of a shadow of a shadow. And as we go back through the simulations, it would maybe the shadows would elevate and it would get easier and easier. I don't know. Dude, I'm too sick to be thinking like this. Come on, we haven't even had any drugs. Jesus. I want to come to Prague. We'll take some mushrooms and we'll discuss it again.
Every once in every, like, I think 4 months, it's one of these conversations that come up, man.
Yeah,
It's a lot. It's a fucking lot, dude.
But how could a thing be if it never was? Well, I think you'll find if it never was. Fucking hell.
Just to think the last like few days I've been more thinking, what kind of job should I do?
Yeah.
What's my next job
with my life?
Yeah, like he's like, what do I do next? Like, what's the doing? You know?
And then should we switch the machine off or not? Should we switch it off? Should we switch it off?
Yeah. Then switching off the machine is the next level instead. You know, like because you're a writer too, man, and I'm learning it slowly but surely, and I'm getting to the territory of more complexity, which is now adding perhaps a few plot twists and trying to craft the plot twists so they're not fucking dumb.
Right. Because it's easy for plot twists to be really dumb.
Yeah. He's actually a rubber duck this whole time, you know.
Dun,
But
dun, dun.
but the idea of a plot twist, you are complexifying a character's free will in the story, but trapping them in a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really find fault with that as a plot twist. Say it again. You're complexifying the character in the story and reducing their choice.
So, for example, like when we're talking about how when you turn off the simulation machine, the plot twist is you're on level 5 now.
Right.
So when you're writing a story and you're crafting a plot twist, the free will of that character gets trapped in this complex decision that's actually written out.
Yes, but with one little bit of nuance. A good plot twist is we realize they always were.
Yes.
So it should have been like they never were not in this. So it's I think when you have a good revelation in a movie, you go back through the movie and you go, oh, I thought they were alive, but they were actually a fucking ghost this whole time, and they only appear to the little boy, you know, or whatever the plot twist is.
But even when you're watching the movie, you don't catch that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's a good plot twist. That was a great plot twist.
Yeah, so you're kind of like being on this funnel of free will, but really, you know, it's actually crafted in detail the whole time.
And in that sense, I mean, it's interesting you bring this up now, because for this narcissism documentary, that's why I'm here in Derby. I'm doing a documentary on narcissism. Synchronicities within synchronicities, mate. So the course that I just created on narcissistic abuse uses film theory and writing massively to describe narcissistic abuse, and particularly the imagery of the Matrix. So the narcissist is the director, the producer. They put you inside of their movie, but then you don't experience the movie as a movie, you experience it as real life. Then I get called here to do this narcissism directory by a girl who is working she wants to be a film director, and she's like, I want to do it through film. I want you to describe it through film. And I'm like, I can do that because I've just done that. That's my preferred way of talking about this. And she's like, oh, damn, that's cool. And so we're doing this whole thing of like the simulated reality of narcissistic abuse and how it drops you into a particular reality. And the plot twist, I think for a plot twist to be a good plot twist, is it's a red pill moment. So the audience was living in a simulation, and then the storyteller wakes them from the simulation and goes, no, it was this the whole time. And the whole time is so that I can go back as an audience member and go, oh shit, you got me.
Yeah.
I really thought that Bruce Willis was alive the whole time. I didn't, though now you mention it, oh shit, I missed. And we enjoy that. We enjoy a good trick. We love magic. We love it.
Right.
Nam-myoho Renge-kyo.
That's probably why meditation is a thing, right? It simplifies everything, man.
Beautiful. It's so good to just have nothing. Nothing is as good as nothing. Contentless. It's good for your creativity. If you can't meditate, just sit and look at a fucking wall and let your mind float free.
I've been getting into yo-yoing, which is not meditational. Well, it is a meditational activity, but it's not pure meditation.
I really thought you were going to say yoga. I've been getting into yoga. I was going to be like, wow, yoga, finally. Yo-yoing. Now that,
If I
whilst
wasn't,
vaping on a skateboard, because you have ADHD as fuck.
how did you know?
And mumble rapping.
Yeah. Yo, yoga got destroyed by the branding, the current iteration of it for me.
It's just, think of the girls in their fucking Lululemons and just go. It's great.
That's also the problem.
Problem how?
Dangerous.
Oh, yeah, that is a problem. If you're trying to be a good boy, yeah, that is problematic.
Yeah, and I've also been yelled at by yoga people too much, and it makes me think like you guys aren't peaceful.
No,
they're not peaceful. non-meat eaters, stretching people, yelling at people all the time.
Yo, shit, mean. Why your ass is so mean? Thought they're supposed to be connected to the eternal.
Yeah, what happened?
It's a whole other issue that I was planning on raising with you today. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were yo-yoing.
We don't have to go on that, but like, yeah, I picked up yo-yoing, and it's a great meditational-ish activity to do anywhere while skateboarding and magic tricks.
Speaking of yo-yoing, you know, we said that there's probably going to be a new sort of trend towards religiosity, and the religiosity is going to be kind of nihilistic and anti-material. Non-dualism videos are starting to pick up steam again on YouTube.
Again?
Non-dualism is back. It's looking like 2012. Tons of people are trying to espouse non-dualistic philosophy. It is
why? Because
I didn't know that non-dualism would be back. I thought maybe it would be mindfulness or Zen. There has to be a trend. Well, there doesn't have to be. I would suggest it's highly likely, based on the stress of, I mean, you just put COVID and Ukraine back to back, that people are going to want to find a way to peacefully check out of the world.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
So they can yo-yo, or they can choose non-dualism.
Yeah. I mean, I see it in my own life, but not taking those approaches, but trying to find a potential outlet or activity that does silence the voices. The voices.
The terrible screaming inside my skull.
The voices. They don't stop.
Yeah.
Kind of off, but I was body sparring with my trainer yesterday at a park. It was great. Just punching the shit out of your friend in the gut. It's great.
It is nice, but when those fucking things land, if you catch one, people think getting hit in the head or hit in the face or I got punched in the nose, that must be terrible. It's not fun, but it's okay. You catch one in the eye, in the mouth, it's okay, or the ear. But when you get hit in the liver or in the fucking lung, your shit ends. Your world is done. Like it's like Inception, where the city like collapses in on itself, and you can't run from the pain. You can't. There is no position you can move your body into that stops the pain. It just folds you up like a fucking deck chair.
I mean, luckily, I've never been hit in the liver, and we were just going 20%. We were just tapping, but
yeah. I'll come to Prague and smack you in the liver. You won't like it. No, it's horrendous. It's worth training, actually, because if you do get into a fight, it's a really good way of ending the fight quickly. To give somebody a left shovel hook in the liver, it's done.
Just send them to simulation theory.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I thought of non-dualism was because you're talking about nasty spiritual people. Non-dualism tends to attract highly narcissistic people. Obviously, not everyone who's involved in non-dualism is narcissistic. But I was watching these videos and I was like, somebody should parody these people. And I was like, no, they already did. JP Sears.
Oh yeah.
Remember what he used to do? like the ultra spiritual. That was like a perfect parody of horrible yoga people, dumb ayahuasca people, and horrible non-dual people. Not some people involved in that stuff, they're nice, but like when they're bad, fucking hell, they're a pain in the arsehole.
Yeah, I mean, it would make a lot of sense considering the state of everything. It would, I mean, it's obvious that the trend would be leaning towards that. But can it just be like something new, like a fucking new wave of something really new? I think it's just going to be the same cycle.
I don't think there's anything new. I really don't think there's anything new. People could shoot for a kind of a neo cyberpunk Gnosticism, but that takes quite a lot of creativity and a degree of intelligence. This non-dualism that is being spouted, it's really easy to fake.
Well, can you just like give examples, like the simple platitudes of what non-dualism is, just so everyone knows, including
yeah
you?
Well, I could do, Pierre, but you didn't just ask me the question, and I'm not here to answer it, because that would be dualistic thinking, and we're all one. And when you ask me the question and you are silent, you'll realize that you already know the answer, because the answer to your question is in the question itself. Yeah. It's non-dualistic. Like once you've it's like AI. Once you've learned the tone of the platitudes, you can just repeat them all day. So the funny thing, I was watching yesterday, because I'm a masochist, an Irish guy taking questions from people on non-dualism live on YouTube, and it literally was just that, just absolute platitudinal bollocks, half-digested nonsense. And it's not that, like, so people understand my position on non-dualism. It's absolutely, it's real, but you can't just, for fuck's sake, like, quantum physics is real. You can't go to the shops quantum physically. You can't go to the bank and be like, oh, I'm made of molecules and they're vibrating, and the quanta that makes up those molecules, well, that's flickering in and out of reality. It's like, just go cash your check, bitch. Shut up. Get on with your life. Your life doesn't work.
So if I can simplify it into like almost a haiku format, it's like this microphone and me are one and the same, and there is no separation from this microphone and me, and there is no separation from lemon bottle and head, which is why you shouldn't eat, because the food is already in you.
So it's like that. And even though it's one of the most high level concepts in spirituality, and ironically, it's one of the easiest things for dummies to convince themselves that they've understood, which, well, they probably do understand it, but so what? You're not embodying it. It takes years and years of meditation to embody non-dualism, even for fucking 5 or 10 minutes, especially in conflict, especially when it counts and people are asking you to invest your ego. Good luck. Good fucking luck. I mean, it's tough. And I don't even think it's so tough for people in modern Western society. I don't even think it's worth aspiring to. I think there are other things you should look at doing first, like sort of loosening off your ego, becoming less localized with your ego functioning. Non-dualism, leave it to the fucking Sidhus, man. You've got no chance. No fucking chance.
I don't think a huge percentage of the West has any chance at all. I think the way that the West should approach this is more so don't talk shit. You know, just like really basic practical human decency in terms of like just
boring. Pierre,
you know,
I want to virtue signal how special and clever I fucking am.
Right.
God, just let me be special.
Yeah, it's just
you're
like
my soulmate.
Yeah, you're gonna talk about non-dualism, but you're like judging somebody's fucking dress. You know, let's start off with the dress first, and then we can maybe move into crystals one day. You know,
it's actually who calls it this? I'm going to say it's spiritual capitalism, which is a clever way of saying it, but it's not mine. Somebody said it. It's actually, or Zizek calls it Western Buddhism. It's basically spiritual capitalism. It's an effort to acquire points on a hierarchical ladder that puts me above you. That's the essence of what. It's not the essence of what non-dualism is, but when you get a bunch of dummies online on YouTube flexing that they're non-dualists, that's what the fuck it's all about. It's basically a way of saying I'm better than you, and it ties in with that whole soulmate thing. I finally fucking crystallized why I hate it so much. And it's because it's intrinsically Western and it's intrinsically narcissistic. You have no fucking soulmate. The stars do not give a fuck about your love life. Nobody gives a fuck about you. The universe is infinite, long, and distant. The stars scream in laughter at your hopes and dreams, you pitiful little fucking worm. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Nobody cares who you rub your noo-noo against. Fucking soulmate. No one cares. If you meet somebody and you have a nice time with them for a period of time, it's enough. Just be ordinary, be normal, be grateful, and be gracious that somebody would want to rub your noo-noo or your winky.
How spiritual
Soulmate.
that was.
Soulmate my ass.
Did I tell you when I was fried on LSD when I was 19 and totally bought into all this stuff? My friend won tickets to a New Age convention in LA. And I went.
Oh, Jesus. God, I feel a sweat. A New Age convention in LA.
Yeah.
No.
It was in a hotel. Every conference room just laid out with crystals and UFO chimes and fucking little pendants. I have never seen so much merchandise for a spiritual event ever in my life. I've actually never seen that much merch in general.
Listen, you don't understand. These people are operating at such a high level of non-dualistic non-materialism that they need more money to listen, not finished, to ground themselves so they can talk to lower beings like you.
The tickets were like $200 each, but he won them.
God,
he won them for free, but like the tickets were insane. And then seeing the tables just full of incense and gold medallions and all this shit. No one would even acknowledge me, which is fucking weird, but no one talked to me there the whole time. But I was just looking at tables and tables of crystals and product everywhere.
They were just a kid, a skater kid with no money. That's why nobody spoke to you. Like, this fucking guy,
you know,
he's got no money.
I was too dualistic for them, I think.
Yeah. He was a skater boy. He had no fucking money. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to sign up for their $5,000 Reiki crystal suppository course.
Oh, I mean, every hour there was like a schedule for some angel whisperer or some shit too, man. It was crazy.
I would pay for an angel to whisper to me as long as I could whisper back.
We should go to a New Age convention one day.
If we can, if you find one, we can.
And we both have to wear dashikis.
The fuck is a dashiki?
It's those traditional African like poncho looking things.
You out your goddamn mind? Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. That's gonna be a great day for me. That's gonna be super fun for Heinrich Reichardt von Germanface.
Drinking Aryan milk.
Drinking Aryan milk. I'm like, no, the thing is, well, we all come from Africa, and I just really want to reclaim that genetic space because we're all essentially from Africa. Yeah, that was going to be
maybe not you, but I'm just going to add you in it. Do you realize how many financial opportunities we give up like this?
By me not walking around in traditional African robes. Yeah, I don't see the financial advantage. But educate me, Pierre. I'm always open to a good bit of entrepreneurialism.
You do that. You claim you can whisper to angels, and then book an hour at some convention, and then you have your mortgage paid, bro.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll operate on a platform and be like, look, British colonialism wasn't all bad, and I don't want it all back. But listen, hear me out. If we could take back 20% of your country,
Jesus Christ!
If I'll do it if I can have like a little African hat. Do you know? Did I ever tell you I used to do African drumming? Did you know that?
The bongo things?
How dare you? It's called the dun-dun.
A dun-dun.
It's not a bongo, it's a dun-dun.
Excuse me and my uncultured ass.
It's either a dun-dun or a djembe. Yeah.
Oh, djembe. I know djembe.
Yeah, djembe. Yeah. So for some reason, well, there's a long drive down here. I started thinking about that the other day. It's a long time ago that I used to do this, and I was like, could you imagine how controversial just that activity, just the fact that you took that as a hobby? When I did it, which is about 10 years ago, didn't mean anything at all. 10 years later, it's just an act of absolute fucking conquest and violence.
Yo, I used to get invited to drum circles in Huntington Beach, bro.
Really?
Yeah, I never went, but
It's pretty good, you know. It's a pretty good way of trancing out. Like you hit, like if you can drum a little bit, you can hit an altered state of consciousness quite fast.
oh, I mean, I used to drum. That was my first instrument. So
Was it really?
yeah, it was my first instrument, and I fucking love it. But it's loud as hell. But I break sticks every time I play them, man.
Yeah. You should if they do it in Prague, we should look and see, because I'm going to come to Prague soon. If there's a dundun or djembe class, we should go. That would be fucking great. It's really good fun.
We could do an ayahuasca ceremony in Prague. We can shit together, dude.
We can shit together, Pierre.
Bro, okay, first of all,
I'd want to do ayahuasca again. Go on.
First of all, the Westerners, the Westerners that do the ayahuasca ceremonies, how y'all feeling comfortable puking and shitting in front of strangers?
I'm not. I'm British. I don't. Bodily functions do not go in public spaces. I can barely piss in a public place.
Bro, that is so weird. Just that's the first
Weird
thing that
shit.
you'll do at an ayahuasca ceremony is you'll fucking shit your brains out in front of people that you don't know.
Mm.
That is so uncomfortable. But
well, when I did it, it was in like oddly enough, it was in a primary school. The kids weren't there. You'll be glad to know it was during the holidays. But it wasn't a primary school. It was creepy as fuck, and there were toilets and stuff there, but you could still they're like school toilets, and the doors were, you could still hear everything. You could hear everything that was happening. Like it was gross.
you know,
Completely
like
gross.
we briefly mentioned this before, but a lot of these ayahuasca ceremonies are brought up in communities that are ingrained together since birth. That of families of like a really close knit community, and then it integrates. So the ayahuasca ceremony is like a coming of age, and then it integrates within the society that's already living like that. So you're like basically doing these ceremonies with really, really close friends and family that basically saw you grow up as a child. So there's a bit more there. But then when you take the Western approach, it completely gets rid of half of the fucking equation.
Yes, which was what you just said is something like whatever thing or spirit or entity I was talking to when I went to do ayahuasca, that's what she said. It's like you've missed half of this. It's just not for you. And I kept getting images of feet. She was like, did you play? Are these your feet? I was like, no, they're not my feet. And she was showing me images of people's feet as they grew and lived and played and lived and breathed and had kids in a place, and the plant was nearby. She was like, if these are not your feet, you weren't raised where I grow, so you don't need to take me. I was like, oh, is it taboo if I take you? And it's not taboo. It's not for you. It's just not for you. And she said of me particularly, she was like, you don't even need to take this shit. You don't need to. You're a tourist. Go away.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to travel on a holiday vacation somewhere and you stay at a 5-star resort, and you're never going to integrate with the people in that new town. It's just never going to happen.
No. Can you get acid where you are in Prague?
I don't know what acid is, and I have never done it in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
I would do mushrooms with you. I don't think the ayahuasca thing it's too violent. It's too violent. Even I'm too sensitive. Even the nicotine ceremony was too much for me. It's called, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's spelled RAPE, and I think it's pronounced rape.
Yeah,
it's too much, man. It's too. I really did not like that. I really was very. It was one of the worst drug experiences in my life.
Those things are that's why they say to respect the plant. It's like a thorn. It's a fucking cactus. It's like it tears you apart, literally. Like everyone talks about imagery of snakes ripping them apart, falling down thorny branches. When it says it destroys your ego, it's actual literal death that you envision of yourself. You know, it violently tears you apart and then like rebuilds you with light and shit. But like people don't recognize that there's a brutality to that destruction.
Definitely, there's definitely a brutality to it. There's definitely a darkness to all that, and for me, that kind of experience, it non-localizes you. It just makes your whole sense of self. The sense of yourself just becomes, it sort of gapes you. It breaks you open, and you're gaped after that. You're like, I'm not as certain of the me that I once was before. I'm not sure I am just this thing. I have a very strong sense that I'm actually more than just this thing.
Yeah, because like anything you hold on to, the whole point is to dissolve that. So you're holding on to something, goodbye. If you actually look up on YouTube, like ayahuasca trip movie or something like that, there's a scene of a movie that tries to emulate ayahuasca. I've never actually done it, but I imagine that this imagery is really close from all the other what is called sources that I've compared it to. But it everything begins snake like, not for every person, but everything starts breaking into this tunnel of snakes, and like it's dark. It's not like peace, love, and hippiedom, you know.
Yeah, it's a strange culture. I do have a begrudging respect for that crew who do it regularly, even though I think they're knobs, and it clearly hasn't dissolved their egos at all. The fact that they go through it again and again and again is pretty impressive. I don't know why the fuck they do it. I really don't. But then, what am I saying? I don't know why 95% of humanity does the thing that they do. I find most of what people do for fun depressing, numbing, boring, and/or painful. So,
most of the things that people regularly do are generally painful.
Yeah, and the conversations they have are redundant and painful. Yeah, boring people are. Have you ever noticed how fucking boring NPCs are? They just want to scream. Like, why are you talking about this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Stop, please. You're wasting my time.
Are you ever conflicted though? Because this is the position where I am at, where it's like, fuck, I need like a regular group to be around, and then I go try to be a part of a regular group, and I'm like, god damn, I don't want to be regular group no more.
Sometimes when it happens, I'm like, I'm gonna find value in this conversation, if not in the content from the context. Like, it's nice to have contact with people, and I can do that, but it seems to be limited. It's like I can do a couple of nights of socializing on that level, and then it's so draining. I find it really, really, really exhausting trying to maintain conversations about shit that just doesn't matter. And the thing that bothered me the last round of me trying to do that was whenever a more interesting subject would come up, there'll be certain personalities within the group who kind of function as gatekeepers, and they cut out those subjects. They won't let you talk about those subjects.
Oh, yeah. That's really fascinating, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
okay.
Yeah, the interjections from the alphas for no fucking reason.
In my last round of experience of that, it was women in the group. It was women who wanted to make sure that the conversation took place within a certain frequency band and no further. And it was delivered with a kind of hysterical anxiety, like, oh, if we get into this interesting topic, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I fear the potential chaos. Let me just nip it in the bud now. And I remember, like, on one of these events, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, really? Okay, I guess we'll go back to talking about your favorite fucking wine or whatever the Jesus Christ thing nonsense that made me want to kill myself that we've been talking about for an hour and a half was.
It's the stick to the script mentality. You know, you're veering too far off. That line isn't there. Like, we can't function that way. You know, sorry. Like, you're getting the lines wrong. It's like they punish you for getting the lines wrong. And
But if you think other fucking 29-year-olds are boring, you should try hanging around with a bunch of fucking married and with children 44-year-olds. Bish,
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to have friends. I know I'm supposed to do it, but it's pretty tough.
I would just overhear like mortgage all the time,
Mortgage.
shit like that, mortgages,
savings, and what's
Yeah.
the thing that people put money towards where their lives at the end of their lives?
Saving, retirement fund,
Pension.
yeah,
Pension.
Yeah, you gotta get that pension, invest or something.
When those conversations come up, I start going into my head, giving myself challenges like, okay, you're in a room and you have to kill yourself. There's a drill, a hammer, and a hacksaw. Which one do you choose and how are you going to do it?
People are saying 401k. Also, I think both of us, like, we seem pretty chatty and kind of like big personalities on this podcast format for sure. But I think in real life, you and me both are more like receptive people.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to jam our shit depending on the context, right? We don't like need to like get in there and then like steer the conversation and then bring up the fucking thing. So oftentimes when you're more receptive and you're in a group setting or something, it's like there's always one or two that just they need to. Like they just this is their moment. And then because they sense that you're receptive, they just have you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they proselytize whatever the thing is. I noticed like Sneako was talking a lot about Andrew Tate, Cobra Tate, and I listen to his videos sometimes. I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to hang around with somebody like that in real life, who constantly wants to tell you about their achievements and what they've done, and like my jet, my penis, my muscles, my kickboxing, my Bugatti, my jet, my penis, my millions, and I'm like, it probably would be interesting for a little period of time. And then I was like, what would you be like? And I'll be like, the Illuminati, the Gnostics, the Bodhisattvas, the simulation theories, like and I would cycle through that, and I'm like, you can't, but it doesn't work. You can't do that. You can't proselytize those subjects. It would be really strange if you tried to.
Of course. And I don't know about you, but personally, I generally feel no need to interject. And that's why I usually like wait for people to see if they're going to give me the time to respond. But the types of people that don't communicate like that, they don't give that time. I feel no need to interject.
Right.
Do you like, do you ever feel that desire? Like, I need to say this here. Like, yeah, I'm going to put that you in my time.
Not on a subject that I don't care about. Not on a subject that is like, football, holidays, wine, mortgages. I'm not sat there going, oh my God, I really need to elevate the consciousness of the people here by reminding them of this fact about mortgages, because I don't have anything.
But like,
and they try and engage me. It's so sweet. They're like, when are you going to buy a house? And what's your deposit on, and what can you afford? And I'm like, well, I can't relate on that. Like, I just sit there and I'm like, you don't want to know. Don't fucking ask me, because you'll hate me. Don't ask me questions that if I have to answer, you're gonna fucking hate my guts.
So even when they ask you, you don't even want to interject.
No. I'm like, so then I start lying, and then I become a liar, and I'm like, what did I hear them say? Okay, so think of a number, make it slightly more than that, so it's realistic, but don't say the real number. I don't know. Or I'll say, oh, I'm moving to another country and I don't know if the mortgage system works the same way there. And they look at me and they're like, pretty sure it does. And I'm like, no, I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Yeah. It's different. Or I just lie. I'll just totally lie. I'll be like, oh, I'm going to get some property in Prague, but it won't be mine. It'll be the businesses. I just fucking bluff my way through these conversations, man.
But they probably are too. They're probably doing the same shit and they like it.
I just, if I was being honest, I would just be like, oh, what are you asking me about my mortgage? Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Where do you want to live? I don't care where I live. I'm so sorry, everyone who's ever asked me this question. If you've met me in real life and you ask me this, I don't care. When are you going to get married? I don't care. Do you want kids? I'd spend literally 0 seconds of my day thinking, do I want kids? Do I want to be married? I don't care. I don't care.
You know, like, are you supposed to talk a lot when people ask you something? Because
think
what I
so.
end up doing is I say like maybe one or two, like a very short answer, and then they go longer. And I'm like, am I allowing that, or were they gonna do that anyways?
That's a good question.
Right?
You
Like,
know, yeah.
yeah, like am I giving the implication that I don't want to talk and you should when I just give that one sentence answer? Or should I is that my time to be like to like go and just go?
It's probably like tennis. So if you receive a text that is 3 sentences long with
Mm, mm,
30 words in it, you should probably give back the same length of text. I think this is how humans communicate.
okay.
So when I'm
Because
simulating conversation, that's what I try to stick to. That's the rule. Like you said about 3 things about this terribly, terribly boring fucking subject.
yeah.
I'm now going to say 3 things.
You know what I have in my mind though? If they go really long and they ask me, I'm like, but you don't care. So then I give them a few like a sentence or two. So like I don't know if maybe I'm like hyper vigilant of if they're actually wanting to hear it or not. Or they just because they're just saying it, you
No,
know?
no, they're not on that. It's really weird. I used to notice this when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I would sit with the adults because I get bored of the other kids, and I try and talk to them, and there'd be this weird grey energy around the adults when they spoke, and it gave me a headache. And the headache would take place in exactly the place in my head where I'd get a headache if I got car sick. It's the same.
Ah,
It takes place. It's exactly the same. There's certain types of shitty music that my mother used to play when I was a kid, and that
mm,
made me used to feel. So this weird, boring, middle of the road rock music that there's like a frequency jammer, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh god, I can't think. It's awful, and so yeah, I really, I don't know. I'm not good at this, and then I find myself going into codependent mode because I'm like, everybody is quite nervous, and I can sense the fragility here because that's
Yeah.
my job. And I was like, so how do I placate people and make them feel better? And that's fine.
Right.
That seems to work very
Yeah.
well. But that's not an adult to adult conversation. That's me
Right.
massaging you to calm down. Because
Yeah.
all this stuff about mortgages and kids and wives and everything is actually an effort. It's probably more to do with like dominance hierarchies and trying to establish who's got what.
You know, that brings up like they bring up the codependent thing. I think in my case that codependent tendency comes up because I feel like what I actually want to say or if I were would just make everybody really uncomfortable. So then I heavily compromise the other way of like either not saying anything to disturb the situation or just to like placate and play it just so everybody's comfortable, you know?
Yes. Yes, agreed. I think I do the same thing. I think because there are certain social circles where it just isn't polite or kind to bring up some subjects. They really don't
Of
want to hear
course.
it. And
Yeah.
so you can't do it. But you obviously you don't want to isolate completely from those social circles. You must have a bridge to them. But they shouldn't be the primary source of socialization then. If you can't really say what you want to say, then you're just you're conversing on mute. Which I mean, I spent time with my family recently, and you have to converse on mute with family because they're family. What are you going to do?
But does that count as socializing if you were just voluntarily just being around and then just kind of playing it? Does that count? You know what I mean? Like, does that have the same intrinsic benefits of socialization if you're
I
just
don't.
kind of
I don't think so. I have a suspicion that it's one of the things that made me sick, is because it started in my throat, and there was things I wanted to say that I didn't say because it would have been unkind. And according to Louise L. Hay, when we don't speak what we think of as true, it can manifest as a irritation and inflammation, which is anger in the throat because you're not opening your throat chakra and telling the truth. I don't know if
Mm,
that's true or not, but it happens with a degree of consistency. So actually, I actually don't think that it had a good socializing effect. I actually think it made me sick in the end. But what can I
interesting.
do? I can't just sit there and go, you're all talking shit. And all of the suffering in all your fucking lives is self-created, you fucking clowns. Look at all the bullshit you talk. Look how uncareful you are with your actions. Look at the. No wonder you're fucking reaping bad karma, you fools. Oh, boo-hoo, look at me. Fucking grown adults acting like children, running around in a room blind, banging yourself into tables and then crying that you've hurt yourselves. Oh, yeah, I feel tons of fucking sympathy for you. And what I do, Pierre, is I sit there and I go, oh, yeah. And then when I want to say something, they interrupt me and cut me off. And then I'll try again. And then by the third time, I'm thinking, fuck you. I'm just not going to fucking speak. I'll sit here and listen to your drunken rambling about nothing. And you can tell me how your life don't fucking work. And we can sit here and wonder the great mystery as to why your lives don't fucking work. A little bit of anger around the issue.
But I think you just represented the inner voice of practically everyone here when you're caught in a social situation that you just don't want to be involved in, man.
I'm just sitting there listening to monkeys drivel on like pee pee poo poo papa. I'm like, yes. I would rather talk, literally, I swear on my soul, I would rather talk to my 3-year-old and 5-year-old nephews because they're young enough for it to be justified when they just talk utter bullshit because they have my ear and they're just stream of consciousness making up stories. I love it. But when you're 60 and you're doing that because you're drunk, yeah, man, I ain't got time for that. I got time for your bullshit.
Yeah, man. And I don't know how to compromise. Like, you got to speak the truth here, and you can't just let them do. But like, then they won't like me, but I don't like them. So then, why am I here in the first place?
All of this bollocks that people say about like you should always tell the truth at all times in your life and all that. It's fine saying that in your bedroom in front of a laptop where everything is okay and there's nothing at stake.
Yeah,
where you're nothing at stake.
Where you're commenting trolly, hateful comments behind your screen. Speak your truth, you dimwit.
Through an invisible avatar. You're not even using your real name. There's not even a profile picture of you there. Yes, in theory, everybody should, but in actuality, in this world, I think I mentioned this here before. It's one of my favorite thought experiments. Is like if you were in that Jim Carrey movie where something was broken, or was it Ricky Gervais? Something got broken inside of you, and you could only tell the truth. How long would it be before somebody killed you? And I'd be like, I think a week. I think I'd do 7 days, and then somebody eventually would just stop me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. And so, I mean, the point I'm trying to get at is like, how do you maintain contact in a way that doesn't destroy you? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a question. Okay. And somebody's made a comment that's in line with this. It says, we all want honesty, but not so much that it is offensive. You can't have that. You can't have inoffensive honesty. It's either truth or it isn't. There's no such thing as like, you be honest with me, but weigh up how honest you're going to be with me so that you don't hurt my tender feelings. Fuck that. Tell me the truth and I'll deal with my feelings rather than you having to chew up which truth to tell. I'm not going to train you to half lie to me.
And that is actually one of the biggest things that I see with Kevin Samuels, because he actually pre-screens everyone saying, are you ready to hear my personal honest truth about you? And they say yes. Yeah. And then 15 minutes in, they're like, slow the fuck down, Kevin. Yeah. So, I mean, people hate on him all you want, but he does pre-screen everyone and has them basically sign an unwritten contract. When you contact me, are you ready to hear my personal honest truth? And that's it. And then they go, oh my God, you can't say that.
You're 5'2", you're 350 pounds, and you have 4 children to 4 different men. Tell me again.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that I missed speaking to him. I'm so sad that I missed that opportunity because I only really watched his videos properly after he's passed away. And I was like, wow, there's really something here. He did something very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And like, realistically, man, I wouldn't ask for his opinion because I know I couldn't handle it. I don't want to hear that like written or said like that. And it's like, if you can't handle it, just don't do it. If you can, then do it. You know.
I would. These are
I know
good
you
things.
could.
The pain is always worth it, and you always overcome it. It might take 3 days or 3 weeks
Yeah.
or 3 years.
But you know, it's actually one of
overcome it.
it's one of the reasons why like stand-up comedy was like a thought for me, but I'm too fucking sensitive, man. I couldn't deal with it coming back and dealing with audience reception and shit. It's too much, man.
Yes. Yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you on that one. Should we take questions from these good people? Why don't we do some Kevin Samuels, and we'll have people call in, and then we'll just tell me what kind of a boyfriend you're looking for.
People are mad at us when we're not even directly talking to them, bro. That's just...
you know, this recent experience, it made me think of like a bunch of biblical style thoughts, sort of Jordan Peterson style thoughts, like you should weigh your words before you speak them. You should weigh the consequences of your actions before you take. This was the result of being around people who are a bit sort of like stuck in their own heads, drink a little bit too much, and have pretty easy lives, but complain a lot. And I was like, God, there's lines from the Bible. It's in Proverbs of people who just speak nonsense, and they're just used to talking their own nonsense, and they spew lies, and they get themselves into trouble. And the Bible, basically, the wisdom of the Bible, maybe it's pre-biblical, ancient Jewish wisdom, is like, stop drinking, talk less, pray more, maybe fast or something, get your shit together and stop with the fucking nonsense.
You know what I compromised with? I just accepted that that's actually baseline human communication. So to kind of like reject that is almost like rejecting English. I just had to learn that that's just a thing that humans need to do. It's like a breathing function for most people.
Yes. It really shouldn't be, though.
Yeah,
and I do wonder what we permit and what we've normalized, because I don't know. I sometimes I find myself thinking politically. I don't want to get into politics. I could not be asked. But I just think so what you've just said, across a whole nation, say the United Kingdom, 66 million people, it's normal to get drunk and talk shit. And you've got people within a certain age range who do it more. And then I started thinking, like, but what's the actual cost of that? Like, what does it cost the country that's normal? And nobody says anything about it. Everybody goes out on the weekends and they get really pissed and they vomit and they fight with the police and they punch the fuck out of each other and send each other to the A&E. And that's normal in the United Kingdom. And I'm like, why is that normal? What's the cost of that? Like, how's that become normal? How the fuck is that? So I wonder about these things. I'm like, yes, it is normal, but it really shouldn't be, because God, it's a waste of time. It's such a waste of the precious time that we have.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but it definitely is. And I'm just like, makes me look at myself and I'm like, what if I just don't have friends? Because all people do is just gossip about their friends, right? So then I'm like, what if I just don't have that same network to gossip about?
I'm not optimistic, Pierre. There must be some happy compromise that can be found somewhere.
But that's like a baseline of so many human relationships. It's just like gossiping about friends and family. That's it. That's like
pretty much.
Yeah.
But again, though, like that's because we live. It's Marxism. Time for Marxism now. We live within the luxury of capitalist excess. We have so much excess stuff that people become purposeless and their lives become too easy. And it's not a good evolutionary match for the creature that we are. And so if we don't have any enemies, we create them. Because if we were at war, we'd be talking about the next moves that the Germans are making, or the Russians are making, or the North Koreans are making. And that would be your gospel at the dinner table. But without that, you're going to have to talk about Aunt Sue down the road and what she gets up to, etc.
My favorite. Does anybody have any questions, Brie?
Make them one sentence long and have them end in a question mark.
Is it the depth thing is gonna actually finalize today or what?
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, it's on the edge. What's going to happen? I don't know. Ooh, I don't know which direction it's going to go in. Cry harder, Amber Heard fans. Your tears give me so much pleasure.
Hey, Richard and Pierre, what are your thoughts of integrating
Rude.
the anima?
Rude. It's just rude.
And integrating the anima for men. Anima, another layer of integration we find after shadow. Anima is the feminine yin, right?
Well, if you were doing, oh dear, if you were doing a shadow integration and individuation properly, you wouldn't be at such a risk of becoming anima possessed. So the thing that women have to watch out for is animus possession. Men have to watch out for anima possession. If you submit to the cultural coordinates that we have today, you will become anima possessed, which means when a man becomes anima possessed, he's possessed by a non-noble woman who is whingy, critical, lazy, and delusional. When a woman is possessed by animus, she's possessed by a non-noble man who is tyrannical and bullying and persecutory. He looks for people to dominate and beat up. So these are the things we have to watch out for. But broad-scale anima depression, especially amongst younger men, actually, no, I think it's across all men now, is a real problem for sure. Individuation is the answer to that. Oh, God.
Balance.
It's all about the balance. Must find the balance.
I moved to Orange County. My God, the people here. How can I make friends? Good luck. Move out as soon as you can. Sorry you did that.
Do yoga. Meet some good yoga people. Drink kale smoothies.
Yeah, you gotta find a thing that's kind of trendy, and you have to either play along with it or actually enjoy it. Yoga, big thing. You can get into dieting, like veganism and stuff. That's really popular there. If you're a hipster, you can hang out the hipster spots. If you're not, you can go like clubbing, or like not clubbing,
Drugs.
but go to downtown Huntington Beach, and you probably meet some terrible frat boys and ex cheerleaders. That'll be fun. If we accept that humanity barely knows anything, could the depression of society be the realization that humans have barely touched the surface of what can be known?
What's the depressions of society? What does that mean?
A depressed society. But no, I do not think it's because we don't know enough. I think it's a lot of other things.
I think if we had the realization that humans have barely touched the surface of what can be known, it would have the opposite effect. People wouldn't be depressed en masse. They would feel optimism en masse. I would argue the other way, that the depression of society, if I've understood you correctly, is actually because we know too much. We're living now in a post-enlightenment time. Our view of the world has become too Western, too post-enlightenment, too mechanistic, too scientific, too rational. We're thirsting for mystery, spirituality, mythology, symbols, and so on.
And
That's the creatures we are.
And what's it called? Like connection, genuine connection, unfiltered connection. I don't even know. Some type of connection that's not there anymore. I think that's the most important thing.
And sexual connection. People have stopped having sex. It's not
don't
good.
do it too much. You going out on the wheel this summer, Pierre? I've thought about it, but it just doesn't really feel like the time. Like the hostilities outside, doesn't seem like there's as much to do because the energy's off. And then also, like, I've been really playing with this new idea of boundaries. Have you heard of that, Richard?
Boundaries. No, but I can read up on it.
Yeah, something like that. Probably learned it from you, actually. But yeah, I don't know. Just the idea of like having my location fed in real time all the time, and then knowing all my personal shit all the time was a little much, I've realized. So I have to kind of pull back a little bit.
How many young rappers died because they gave their location away on Instagram? It's quite a number, right?
Yeah, actually, way more than it should be. Yeah,
Way
for
more than it
sure.
should be. I found out because when I was in that club that I was working security for, they kept on playing this rapper that sounded like one of the members of G Unit. Um, what was his name? Young something. And he sounded just like him, and he kept on making references to G Unit and to 50 Cent, and his name was Pop Smoke. And I went,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
nice. I found someone I like. Dior. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Very enjoyable. Thank
Great.
you, Mr. Smokey. And then I looked him up, and I was like, he's dead.
Yeah, he
He's
got
only been
shot.
around for a
He got
minute.
shot in, I think, in LA. I think it was
That's
one of his
right.
stores, actually.
At one of
His stores, or a store that he worked with, a clothing store or something. I forgot. But yeah.
he rented a house in the Hollywood Hills, and then he received gifts and he took pictures, and in the picture you could figure out where his location was, which this house
Oh,
was. 4 guys broke in to rob him, and a
yeah.
young guy who was there, 15-year-old, had a Beretta, and at some point Pop Smoke, who was only young himself, was only 21, became confrontational. He was going along with it, then he became confrontational, and
Oh,
they shot
shit.
him in the chest.
Dude, bro sounds like 35, man, with that
Yeah.
voice. She's 21. Yeah, XXX was also 21 when he got shot because he was at a motorcycle dealership and
That's it.
he got robbed. Okay, I'm not gang affiliated, so I probably won't get shot, but let's just say I had some stalkerish incidences
Yeah.
from potential fangirls, which was also kind of weird, you know, but it's more so it's just not the time to be flaunting my version of a top-down BMW and like screaming on the streets and just like doing that thing, you know?
It's a
And I
no flaunt period right now, I think.
no flex zone.
No flex zone, baby.
Yeah. So I mean, if I do, it's gonna be more like in an undisclosed area outside, and then just chatting, just at one or two places. It's not gonna be as like extravagant as it used to be. I don't even know if I have that in me anymore. You know.
Somebody in the chat tell me who the member of G Unit was who had the name Young, and what the full name was. It's driving me mad.
I don't know. Do you think our mentality is any different from the Middle Ages? I feel like they would change too much. I think there are still like common thought patterns. You know, a lot. I mean, I think we've changed a bit, but there's still some leftover residue.
Young Buck. Thank you so much, Busy Mike. That clears my mind. Mentality different from the Middle Ages. Well, the hardware isn't different, but the software probably is different in some significant ways. But I don't think that's why we're seeing the things that we're seeing now. What I think is that we have probably largely a similar mentality, the same level of religiosity, the same desire for orthodoxy and purity, mixed with the massive heartbreaking disappointment of losing God and the incredibly confusing, evil, psychedelic influence of the alien artificial intelligence of the technology that we have now. The technology is just driving us completely bonkers, completely fucking bonkers.
What normalized behavior do you think is the most harmful for our society? Jerking off, sneezing and jerking off at the same time. Ew.
Do you know that I have a very rare disorder that means when I'm sexually aroused, I sneeze?
That's the disorder? I thought it was normal.
So every time that we're getting hot and heavy and I get excited and I sneeze, that's actually a real disorder, Pierre. You know that it's real. It's real. It's
It's
called
an actual
SIF.
thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real
Holy
thing.
shit, that's insane.
Yeah, it's called sexually induced sneezing. It's nobody knows why it happens. It's some sort of central nervous system effect.
Right. You know what you just did? You started the
What?
next mental health TikTok trend. Everyone's gonna start sneezing on fucking TikTok now, bro.
Yeah. So if there's a very intense spike in sexual arousal, it's not the most romantic thing that you could possibly do. It's not a very sexy thing to do, but I have a sneezing fit. But then once you've learned that that's why I'm sneezing, then it kind of, do you know what I mean? It balances out.
So, anyways, to your question, Mister, my thing is probably like like a type of repression that comes out as like this gossipy like rage in like that gets sent out to everyone around you. Something, whatever the fuck that would be called. I don't know.
I don't know if it's normalized to our era or if it's always been around in some format. I think more of a respect for people's boundaries would be good. And I'm a very socially liberal person by nature, but I really value politeness a lot because I think it protects us from the darkest parts of each other. Like we shouldn't normalize being slovenly and rude in our interactions one with the other. It does a tremendous amount of harm long term. I think like formality is good.
I think my answer to go off you is like boundary breaking is like that's a normal thing now, and that's like
Yes.
that's pretty harmful.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we be happy as individuated individuals who no longer seek the tribe?
Thank you, Kendrick. And hello, Zachariah Adil. Zachariah is an excellent tarot card reader, and he also combines an extensive knowledge and understanding of Western and Chinese astrology to give people readings, and has areas of expertise around relationships. So if you were a rooster Aries and you were going out with a dog Sagittarius, Zachariah would instantly know celebrities who fall into those same categories, and he would know the relationship dynamic that would take place. It's very, very extensive knowledge. So look him up on Instagram, and if you're lucky, you might be able to book him. I know he's very, very busy for a tarot card reading. Very insightful tarot card reader. That was a nice little short advert, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know this question because the whole tribe thing is what I'm currently challenged with, because like I'm pretty how do you say, comfortable or not complacent, but being an an individual person. But sometimes you just want to be a part of a fucking tribe, and I'm like, but where and how and if possible, you know?
Yeah, I'm. I think like the same thing. Really, it's like I know the biology and the psychology and even the endocrinology. It dictates that like we have to be around people. It's just very unhealthy to be isolated. But what do you do in a world where you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse of ideological infection, and it means that many people that you interact with are not really people in a meaningful sense. They're more like carriers of a virus, of a mental virus, of a mental parasite, or socks. They're like the devil's wank sock. They're all just full of Satan's cum, crusty cum, like crusty.
What an optimistic way to view other people.
I've really my patience has really been tested recently.
Same here, nice. Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, you know, and my thing is like I've actually made conscious effort to really attempt to find a potential tribe or seeing things, and it just does not like go well every time. So kind of figuring things out there. What?
I just remembered I wanted to ask you this. I was going to ask you this privately. Obviously, I'm coming to Prague, and me and you are going to shoot some stuff. There's a whole porno series. I'm going to combine like psychology, philosophy, and porn with Pappy P, and it's be on my OnlyFans and my Pornhub channel. But what if we did like a meetup there for Tentacle Croissant or for Pierre XO followers and my followers, and did like a meetup and filmed it, and we had like a chat with people.
Bro, I'm scared of my own followers, man.
What, are you scared they're gonna stab you?
No, they're gonna be like, oh, like trying to talk to me and shit, you know?
Yes, they're definitely gonna talk to you. There's no paranoia there. If they travel from another country to come and see you, they'll definitely want to talk to your face with their faces.
We were just talking about being caught in conversations that you don't have nothing to add.
Your followers, they'll be interesting and funny and insightful and thoughtful. Young,
And then I have to be polite about it. You know, I don't want to be stuck in a situation. You feel me?
Jesus Christ! When the fuck did you turn into me? This is always my thing. Like, why don't you want to do psychology seminars? Because then I have to fucking talk to people with words.
It's been a long year, man.
A long couple of years, apparently. In the comments, and then in the chat, and then in the comments after the video has ceased to be live, please let me know, because I will just set it up and I'll just make Pierre go. If that's what people would like, then I'll set it up.
Okay, how much we charging and how many bouncers will be there?
We won't charge much, and I'll hire 2 security guys.
I would be willing to do a live tentacle croissant.
Okay. We can set that up with Thomas. We can find a nice location with Jan, and we'll do a live tentacle croissant, and we'll talk as we normally do for an hour, and then we'll just take questions for an hour. Pretty easy. But if we do that, we probably don't need to charge people anything.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Was it like a lunatic filter?
Yes.
Like if you don't have $15, then you definitely can't come in. Okay.
Lunatic filter.
Okay. We'll charge something. We'll charge some amount.
There's just like 2 people that show up.
Yeah. So we saw the tentacle croissant where you shat on all your followers and said that you don't like them, or people, or humans.
And that's the thing. I'm going to have to face them now after I said that.
It's never bothered me. I've had people come to seminars and be like, I didn't like what you said in the YouTube video. And I'll be like, I don't care. I'm as much of an asshole in real life as I am on YouTube.
You say I don't care?
Yeah, of course. Multiple times I've said to people, I don't care. I've had terrible experiences in my seminars. I've had proper psychotics come to my seminars and kick off.
Dude, I don't want that. You want that.
No, you have nice followers. You have nice, normal followers. I have the psychotics.
Well, they seem nice, and then they give you a sweater with a knife underneath it.
Yeah. I made this for you. Why don't you love me? Why? Jesus told me you would be mine.
Oh, man, I don't know. I'll think about it.
We'll have security. It'll be fine.
We'll have security.
The Czech security guys will be like, why have you bothered employing? What is this bullshit? But I will hire security. We have to hire security because I've had psychotics come into my stuff.
What if we did it in public, bro? Just in the
center. That's the other option.
Center of Old Town Square with a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll discuss the details. I'm still on the fence about this, as I usually am.
It's easier to stab you in a public space, but yes, we could definitely consider it.
Any other questions, or are we good, or what's going on? Dude, the Johnny Depp thing is coming up soon. Yeah, people are saying 30 minutes.
Oh, is that? Oh, of course, because it's 3 p.m. Are we? Is it California or is it Virginia?
Virginia.
Yeah, they're 5 hours behind us, so yeah, they should be coming up real soon.
Fuck. Oh, I want to know.
He's gonna win. They've absolutely destroyed her in this trial.
But you never know. I don't think that she will win for sure. But like,
she's going to be found guilty of defamation. She's going to be asked to pay a lot of money, and then she just won't pay it. But he'll be back in Hollywood. He'll be back with the big movie contracts, and he'll have cleared his name and hopefully live the rest of his life without this hanging over him, which will be the big victory. But he'll never get the money back. The money's gone. Millions and millions of dollars has gone forever. And he'll never get those 4 years back.
Yeah. Speaking of which, why is voyeurism in celebrity train wreck so acceptable? Is it a scapegoat thing? You know, actually, I watched the Sam Vaknin video for once, and he actually has a whole video titled "Why We Hate Celebrities," and it's pretty insightful.
Sam usually is. Voyeurism in celebrity train works so acceptable because it's being put into the public eye. I don't know. What do you? Why? What would not be acceptable about watching a public train wreck? What's not acceptable about taking an interest in this case? Why would it have to be suggested that there's a scapegoating thing? Voyeurism, to voyeur, is literally to watch. You're literally watching. So what's unacceptable about watching what's happening with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? She did this. She made it public. This is what people don't seem to understand about this case. It's a defamation case, which means that she went public with a lie that was deliberately intended to ruin his career. So she chose the arena. She chose the arena. She chose this type of fight. Just because he's winning it now, it doesn't mean she gets to back out of it and go, oh no, I want my privacy. No, she didn't choose privacy. She chose the court of public appeal first. And now she's reaping that karma. And I hope she gets everything she deserves.
Yeah, so I think it's one thing to be a celebrity, and then you have paparazzi breaking into your window while you're in a cocaine binge, and then they publicize private photos of you withdrawing, and everybody reports on it. And then it's another thing to do exactly what you just described, which is making your personal situation intentionally public, especially with the case or the intention of destroying someone else's career.
Yeah, she used publicity as a weapon. She chose that. She chose to use publicity as a weapon. So, and that means that she selected voyeurism. She just thought it was going to go in her favor, and it hasn't, because she's a fucking liar. And now she's going to get what she deserves. And I'm delighted. Not because she's a woman and he's a man, but because she's an abuser and a liar, and he isn't. What she did is terrible.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling because your mic made you just sound like, I don't know if it's the connection, but you sounded like a sped up version of Peterson catching up with your own thoughts. Like, it's the weirdest fucking like sound glitch.
You sound like a Dalek.
You sound
That audio's
yeah, you got like this weird connection issue. All right, this might be a time to bring it to an end because you sound like a robot. You're actually turning into AI right now, so maybe this is a signal.
Pee pee poo poo.
You should Thank you for joining Tentacle Croissant today. It's been a pleasure to have you guys listen to us ramble for so long. Thank you for your time and attention, as Richard Grannon will say. And until next time, once every 2 weeks, something like that. Enjoy yourself, my friends. See you guys later. Bidendo and